Hello, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode or spy number of Chasing Labels. This is spy number or episode number 160, and I am your host, Andrew, and we will be diving into many of the things in the boutique world of home media, home video. Not quite sure how one would say it in this day and age. I don't know if people know what home video is, really, if you think about it. Seems like such an archaic title for something. So home media is probably more apropos. But we will be diving into a lot of the things that have been going on in the world of the home media recently, in the boutique label world. If you haven't been here before, basically I just pick out some of the announcements that have happened over the last 2 weeks or so, things that I find interesting, things that I'm probably going to add to my collection at some point, things you may want to add to your collection, or things that I just find interesting in general. But thank you all for joining me here. Like I said, episode or spy number 160. Before we dive into all of that, I do have a few collection updates, I guess. First up here, just picking off a giant stack to my left, is the Radiance release. Coincidentally, some of these things are things we're going to talk about these companies later on in the episode. This is from Radiance, and this is Scream and Scream Again. This has been out of print for a little while, at least the limited edition has. And luckily, I was able to find it on Grindhouse Video. They had a copy of it. And this stars Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. I know everyone's going to get excited when they hear that all three of those people are in this movie. But for those of you who've been listening for a long time, I did cover this when it was first announced. I did watch it when it was first announced, and they're only in the movie a little bit. They don't share much screen time together. These three titans of horror lore in Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. So don't watch this movie thinking you're going to get all of them all of the time. It's really not that type of movie, but I've been trying to catch up on a lot of the old Radiance releases that I haven't picked up yet. Some of them have gone out of print. Some from last year have gone out of print. Some from 2023 have gone out of print. So I'm trying to get them before they become really, really hard to get. Luckily, I was able to find this on Grindhouse Video. And yeah, I'm so lucky because I didn't think this would sell out, but I guess it did. This does have a Region A release, so if you don't have a Region Free player, or if you don't go outside of Region A land at all, there is a Scream and Scream Again that has been put out by Kino. Yeah, there was a Kino release put out back in 2019, which is still in print, I believe. Let me actually make sure. No, it's out of print too. So the Kino's out of print, and this limited edition's out of print. Interesting, huh? But either way, this is Scream and Scream Again. Got some Radiance here. Also, some current news in the world. I don't know if people keep up with the streaming news and the streaming world, but Warner Brothers over the last few years has been so I would say just up and down when it comes to what they have available streaming and what they don't have streaming. And for some mind-boggling reason, they've decided to remove everything that has to deal with the Looney Tunes from HBO Max, or Max, however you pronounce it, which is baffling to me because Looney Tunes has been a staple franchise multimedia platform thing for Warner Brothers for decades upon decades upon decades. And the fact that they would remove it from their, Warner Brothers centric streaming service is mind boggling to me. But anywho, this is physical media. And what I'm leading to is that I've been picking up the Warner Archive Blu-rays of the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice. And this is volume 4, so I'm now all caught up. There's volumes 1, 2, and 3. These are all currently in print. You can buy them all right now. You can get them individually, or you can get them all 4 volumes in one set together, which is cheaper than buying them individually. But yeah, there's also another batch of Warner Archive Looney Tunes series that they're going to be starting. I'll get into that because we're going to be talking Warner Archive really soon. But right now, my priority is to grab as much Looney Tunes centered stuff as I can. For those of you who know me, for those of you who know this podcast for a while, I've always been a big fan of the back catalog of animation getting Blu-ray releases. Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, things like Tom and Jerry, which we're getting some stuff now. We got a little bit of stuff in the past. Pink Panther, all this kind of stuff. I've always been a big fan of all of that. Another one here that I picked up recently, also from Warner Archive, and now I'm caught up, I think, with all their Yogi Bear release, and that is Yogi Bear and the Invasion of the Space Bears. This was the last one I had to get because I got all of the other ones that they've been putting out over the last year or two, somewhere in that realm. For some reason, this has been absurdly cheap for months now. I don't know why. Maybe they were just trying to get rid of them. I don't know. But this was under $10, and I'm like, why not? I love Yogi Bear. I grew up with Yogi Bear. Now all we need is the original Yogi Bear series to get a Blu-ray release, and then now we're talking. But some more mainstreamy stuff that I picked up recently. This was over the last couple of weeks. I got Nosferatu, the 4K UHD of Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers film, the newest Robert Eggers film up to this point. I still need to get the Northman, so I don't have the Northman, but I've got all the other ones. But yeah, this is, of course, we talked about it here on Chasing Labels when it came out. It was one of my favorite films of last year, of 2024, so I had to eventually grab the 4K before all the slipcovers went out of print, at least the first run batch. And then I picked up a couple of upgrades. Kill Bill Volume 1 got a 4K UHD release back in January, I think. January or February, somewhere around there. Either way, Lionsgate put this out. They also put out Volume 2, which I have here as well. I didn't hear such great things about the upgrade from the Blu-ray to the 4K UHD for Volume 1. What I'm pretty much heard and what I'm guessing at and what I've researched is that they kind of just did a bit of an up conversion from the Blu-ray to the 4K. So they didn't go back and give it a full to-do remaster, which they probably should have, which is what you're supposed to do. If you want to do a full, really, real, in quotes, 4K UHD upgrade, you got to go back, give it a full remaster. And I don't think they did that. Remaster, restoration, you know what I'm saying? I did hear, though, that Kill Bill Volume 2 does look better. So I went and grabbed both of these. The one thing I did not get is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown got a 4K UHD release as well. Jackie Brown being, I think, one of the most underrated and underappreciated Quentin Tarantino films. I think Pam Grier and Robert Forster are astonishing in that movie. I think, of course, Samuel L. Jackson's great in it. Robert De Niro's in the movie as well. Jackie Brown, I think, is, like I said, one of his most underrated. It really is. Yeah, that's coincidentally, that's the one I wanted more so than either of these, but the local Walmart that I went to did not have Jackie Brown. Well, they had Jackie Brown, but it was in very worse for the wear condition. The slipcover was absolutely destroyed. It was in a case that just crunched it, and it was mangled. Anywho, a couple of other things here before we get into it, as things start sliding away from me. I don't think I talked about this last time. I don't think I had it then. I think it was still in the mail on the way. Is Sam Raimi's film A Simple Plan. This is the Arrow 4K UHD release. Luckily, Orbit DVD and Diabolic DVD and I think Grindhouse video as well all got a new stock of these. So I was able to get it with the slipcover, which is really nice. If you're not familiar with this film, Sam Raimi's film A Simple Plan, this came out in 1998, starring Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, Bridget Fonda. I talked about it when it was announced here on Chasing Labels. And it's a really great film. really great film. Like I'm like I can't overestimate that. It's probably one of my favorite new watches of last year, films I had never seen before. It is that good. For those of you who have not seen it, Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton play brothers in this movie, and they live in like this secluded, rural kind of area, and they go out hunting one day, and they find a crashed plane, and inside of the crashed plane, they find a body, and they find like millions of dollars in money, and they're they're caught in the moral quandary of what do we do? Do we tell people about it? Do we take this money? What do we do with it? Well, little spoiler here, they take the money and it ends up leading to a whole lot of complications. A whole lot of complications, but it is a great film. If you haven't seen Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan, it is a really great film. If you can get this 4K release, it's really, really good. It's got great special features on here as well. Our buddy Justin Beam from Reverend Entertainment did the special features on here. He was one of our first guests here on Chasing Labels, and he puts together great extras packages, great interviews, really good stuff. So I got that, and I think one more here. Then we'll get into some things. Is I picked this up finally, and this is the Banshees of Inisherin. The Banshees of Inisherin. This is the most recent film by Martin McDonagh, starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, from I think 2022. I want to say, yeah, I think 2022, and it was quite honestly one of the best screenplays I've seen in years. I thought this movie was a lock to win an Academy Award for best screenplay. I thought it was astonishing, and it did not. It did not. I thought Colin Farrell was amazing in this movie. I thought he was going to win an Oscar, but alas, he did not as well. So I was way, way wrong. But for those of you who know who Martin McDonagh is, he makes these dark films, darkly comedic films. He comes from a background of being a playwright, so his films are very dialogue heavy, great dialogue, great staging of actors and things like that. And some of his movies were In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, and Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. And those are his films, and they're all really good. They're all really good, but this is the Banshees of Inisherin. This was like a plain Jane release from, I think, yeah, Disney of all. I think it's Disney Buena Vista release, because this was a 20th Century Studios film. Um, yeah, so nothing really in the way. Like there's two special features on here: creating the Banshees of Inisherin and deleted scenes. So that is it. Unfortunately, that's what you kind of get from mainstream studios now. Is not much to go on. But yeah, nice little stack of stuff I've gotten here recently, just to kind of add to the collection. Let's see, is there anything else? No, I think we'll just dive into what we've got to dive into during today's episode. So let's dive into what has been going on in the world of uh, boutique labels over the last little while. And that was things sliding off into the distance behind me. So let's see. Let me look at my notes and see where we want to go first. Let's hit a couple of the individual releases, and then we'll dive into the slates. Like I said, we've got some things here. Warner Archive, Radiance, Criterion, Imprint had a nice announcement, and of course Kino. Kino's always doing some things, so we'll get into all of that this time around. So some individual stuff here. Let me pull up. Right away. Um, I do want to make mention before we dive into it. See, I'm already backtracking. Our friend John Matthews, who has been here on Chasing Labels a couple of times, he was just in one of our most recent on Watch Piles. He has come up with, I mean, he is just starting a new label, which is awesome, because if there's anybody who knows about this kind of stuff, it would be him and all of that. So it's called New Wave Video. Hold on, let me actually get their social media up so that I can read off a little bit of what they're all about. So yeah, our buddy John Matthews, he co-founded a new label that's going to be coming out, I'm assuming sometime soon. So it says, let's see. There we go. So New Wave Video. With a passion for Japanese cinema, we are proud to bring our vision to life with New Wave Entertainment. A new company focuses on bringing cinema to the Australian market. Expect the forgotten, challenging, obscure, extreme, and heartfelt, both new and old. With a level of quality, we want to present them with the highest level of respect and, if possible, with the filmmaker's approval. We chose the name New Wave as a newcomer with new innovative ideas combined with our local Sydney Beach vibes. We are excited to reveal more in due time, so please keep an eye on this space. So you can check out New Wave Video on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, our buddy John Matthews, you probably know him from um, uh, the the Indicator cast and Imprint cast. Our buddy Tony Michas, who's also been on Unwatched Pile. They work together when doing a lot of things. So yeah, that's awesome. So New Wave Video, I want to make sure to mention that. And then now we can dive into some things. So first up, something that has been long awaited here on the Chasing Labels podcast YouTube channel. Me personally, I know my former co-host Steven, we are finally getting Hirokazu Koreeda's film Shoplifters in a Region A Blu-ray release. Magnolia is putting it out. Magnolia Home Entertainment is preparing a Blu-ray release of Hirokazu Koreeda's Shoplifters, the film from 2018. If you're doing math on that now, people, it's been, oh goodness, 7 years since that movie's come out, and we're finally getting a Blu-ray release. And this was a huge critical hit at the time. It won the Palme d'Or, and the Blu-ray is coming out April 1st. Now, if you haven't seen the movie Shoplifters, it's really good. Like, excellent film. Description: on the margins of Tokyo, a dysfunctional band of outsiders are united by fierce loyalty, a penchant for petty theft and playful grifting. When the young son is arrested, secrets are exposed that upend their tenuous, below-the-radar existence and test their quietly radical belief that it is love, not blood, that defines a family. So what we have here in this film is a kind of a found family type of film, where you may not be related, by blood or genetics or anything like that, but there's something that ties us together more so than that can create a family, a familial bond, if you will. And this movie is playing on a lot of those ideas, and Hirokazu Koreeda plays on a lot of those ideas throughout his filmography. This idea of found families, of unconventional families, things like that. So Shoplifters from 2018, finally, it's like I've been screaming into the void now for 4 years here on Chasing Labels that this movie needs a Blu-ray release here in Region A land, and we are finally getting it. I'm so excited for that. So excited for that. Like, this will be there's a pre-order up right now, and I may give it a pre-order because April 1st is right around the corner. Right around the corner. So that is Shoplifters. Nothing right now in the way of special features. To be honest, I don't know if there's going to be anything on it at this point. Either way, I just want the movie. But before we move into the next individual one, let's get into some of the comments here. So first up here, we have Acres of Movies back here once again. Thank you, Acres of Movies, for being back here. Acres of Movies says, thanks and excited for the program. I'm having a really difficult time lately, and I appreciate your program. Thanks. Well, you're welcome. I think many people are having difficult times all the time, really. And anything that you can find that relieves some of that in your lives is all the more better. It really is. So I'm luckily to have you here. Luckily that this is able to do that for you. Acres of Movies also says, excited to learn more of these releases. Awesome. That's also why we're here. We have our good friend here, Corin Humboldt. Says, hi, Andrew. Hello, Corin. Welcome back. I do miss saying Humboldt Horror Honey. I got so used to saying that over time. But welcome. Let's see. Steve Maris says, how's it going, Andrew? It's going okay. I guess. Things are always in flux. And then our buddy Jeff K says, evening. Welcome, Jeff. Jeff has, those of you listening can't know this, but Jeff's little avatar is Toshiro Mifune in Yojimbo, which is always really cool to see. I saw a picture of, I think it was today or yesterday, of Toshiro Mifune driving a car on the set of Yojimbo. I thought that was kind of cool. But let's see what else we have here. So moving over to Film Masters. Film Masters is a smaller company that we don't talk about a lot. Well, that's not true. I talk about them as much as I can, because they put out some interesting things. They put out things kind of more on the lower end, and I bring this up all the time because I only have one of their releases, and they put out so much more. I have their release of the Terror and the Little Shop of Horrors, the kind of the the Roger Corman double feature here. So I have this release, and this is the one I always show every time I bring up Film Masters, and they put out these really solid releases, and they have a bit of an elite line going on, like a more kind of collector's edition, special edition line, that they put out stuff sometimes, and they're putting out one of a movie called Algiers. So it says here, um, Filmmaster is preparing a Blu-ray release of John Cromwell's Algiers from 1938, starring Charles Boyer, Sigrid Guri, Hedy Lamarr, Joseph Kalea, and Alan Hale. The release is expected to arrive on the market later this year, so we don't even have a date on it. This is the movie Algiers. Now, I saw this movie years ago. I either saw this movie on TCM or I saw it on Filmstruck. It was either one of those two places, and I remember it being uh, in standard definition. I'm pretty sure it was in standard definition, and it was not in the best condition. So I'm assuming this is going to look much better because they do remasters, and this is part of their limited edition line. Yeah, it's called their Archive Collection Limited Edition. And for those of you who have not seen the movie, there's a long description here. So Charles Boyer and Hedy Lamarr are ill-fated couple in this Hollywood remake of the French classic. Pepe Le Moko, I guess, is the original French film. Boyer is Pepe, the jewel thief hiding out in Algiers, in Algiers' maze-like and mysterious Casbah. Pepe is a master criminal who rules his field, but when he meets the beautiful Parisian Gabby, Hedy Lamarr, in her American film debut, he begins to question his shady existence. Directed by John Cromwell, who directed Dead Reckoning, and he also directed The Prisoner of Zenda. I wonder if The Prisoner of Zenda has the Blu-ray release. I'm trying to think if that was a Warner Archive release at some point. Anywho, with dialogue by Noir master James M. Cain, Algiers was an influence on everything from Pepe Le Pew cartoons to the making of Casablanca. That's why this movie is significant, because the Charles Boyer character of Pepe is, I think, the basis for Pepe Le Pew, even down to the French accent. If you know Pepe Le Pew from Looney Tunes, Pepe Le Pew has a French accent. You may be wondering why. Well, I think he's based on Charles Boyer. So there's a little kind of connection there. But this is the movie Algiers from 1938. This is something I definitely want to get. It's it's in the golden age of Hollywood. It's a film that I'm familiar with. I'm curious what the special features are going to be like, and I've got to get more Film Master stuff in my collection. Let's see. We got some more comments here. Corbin Humboldt says, "You can still call me Humboldt Horror Honey." Okay. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll bounce back and forth. I feel like I'm going to end up doing that absent-mindedly. So don't be offended if I do that, because like in the way I do this kind of show, a little behind the scenes here, I'm kind of just making it up as I go along. So anything I say, I'm kind of making up in the moment. I don't have a script that I write. I don't have any real preparation. Kind of just going here on the fly. But we do have some other comments here. We have another comment from, I think that's Iacona 23. Kino Lorber is my favorite label because of the frequent sales, the sheer number of interesting releases, and because they almost always include an audio commentary track for every disc. That is the one thing with Kino: consistency. Consistency in the sense, like, they're always releasing stuff. And they're always releasing kind of unexpected things, as we will talk about here pretty soon. I may go to them right after these individual releases just to go through their stuff. And also, they do have exclusive special features. Now that's both a good and bad thing depending on the context. It's good in the sense like, hey, we're getting new stuff. We're getting something we can't find anyplace else. It's bad if they're re-releasing something you may already own, or you may have already ordered another edition of it, and you have that edition, but you also want all the special features, so you have to get the Kino too. So you end up double dipping, or you just end up, not doing that. You don't have to have everything, depending on how you are as a collector. Me, I want it all. I know I'm bad at that. I want it all. But yeah, we will be talking about Kino very, very soon. So there is another Film Masters release that I've got to pull up here called Lighthouse. And it's not the Robert Eggers film Lighthouse. It's a different Lighthouse film. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, it's Lighthouse from 1947. Completely different. Let's see what we got here. Yes, here it is. So it says Filmmasters will bring to Blu-ray Frank Wisbar's Lighthouse. I think you can stream this on Tubi right now. So if you're interested in this movie, go right ahead. This is also coming out April 1st, starring Don Castle, June Lang, John Littell, and Marlon Martin. Description: this classic tale of jealousy and revenge. June Lang stars as Connie, a young woman whose only desire is to marry lighthouse keeper Sam Wells. When she finds out he's already married, she seeks revenge by marrying his fellow lighthouse keeper Hank Armitage. All three end up living together in the crowded confines of the lighthouse. That sounds like a problem. It sounds like a love triangle with dire consequences. This arrangement sets the stage for melodrama and shows Connie and their pitfalls when one marries for spite. Yep, very true. So yeah, this is getting a new restoration. Very cool. I like that idea of love triangle, melodrama, small confines, all probably set in one area. A lighthouse. A lighthouse is a fascinating setting because it's so isolating. It's such an isolating place to shoot something because there's almost no escape. You're surrounded by water. You can't do anything. That's interesting. That's interesting. So that is the movie called Lighthouse from 1947, getting a release from Film Masters. Now let's see what else we've got here. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to pull this up. So our buddies over at Fun City are putting out a new release called Breaking Glass. And it is coming. I think I may have to go to their website to get this because I don't think there's any info here on Blu-ray.com quite yet. Maybe there is. Nope, there isn't. That's the old release. So the movie Breaking Glass came out in 1980, 1981 or so. There was an Olive Films release back in 2011, but of course, Olive Films no longer exists. Their licensing for all their titles have lapsed and been picked up by people here and there. Some got picked up by Kino, some got picked up by Fun City, some got picked up by Sandpiper Pictures. People have been picking up those left and right. So let me go over to Fun City's Facebook page and see if there's anything there. Or I may have to go over to their website. Nope, they've got stuff. So, Blu-ray coming soon from Fun City Editions, the first ever official US release of Brian Gibson's Breaking Glass in its original UK cut. That's very important, and I'll get to that in a second. New restoration completed by Paramount Archive. So it is a new restoration, so it'll look much better than that old Olive Films Blu-ray that I just talked about. The UK cut. Okay, here we go. So there is a US cut and there's a UK cut. The UK cut is the original intended cut of the movie. The US cut is a shorter cut. It's about 7 minutes or about 10 minutes or so shorter, 7 to 10 minutes. It's about 93 minutes long, and they literally cut off the ending of the movie and just end it. The US cut. The UK cut goes on for about another 10 minutes and gives you a definitive, official end of the movie to the point where it changes the movie drastically. Cutting off a movie right before it's supposed to end can change a movie greatly, and it does in this case. The US cut just ends, and the UK cut gives it a definitive, clear cut ending to the point where I'm like, that's so much better. Not only is it so much better, but man, it hits much harder. So this movie is about a punk band, from a British punk band in the early 1980s. Let's see. Let me just read this a little bit for you guys here. So Hazel O'Connor is Kate, a post-punk new wave singer-songwriter trying to make a name for herself in London at the dawn of the Thatcher era. Performing in low-rent clubs, Kate befriends Danny, and makes the dynamic young man her manager in a bid for superstardom. Making her way to the top, Kate starts to cast aside both her values and her friends. So you understand, just from that description, you kind of understand the way this story goes. You've seen this in many other performance entertainment films before, musical biopics, movies about bands, movies about musical acts, stars, all that kind of stuff. They start out humble, small beginnings. Then, as their star rises, more complications ensue to the point where they're no longer who they once were. They kind of lose a sense of themselves, and that's what happens in this movie. But it's done so with the political backdrop of England in the late 70s and early 80s, which is the Margaret Thatcher England, which is an England that is rather unique, rather interesting. In a lot of historical context that I could go into, which you're not interested in. But um, if you've seen the movie Meantime, the Mike Lee movie Meantime, that takes place, and that is a social commentary on Margaret Thatcher's England. You kind of understand the type of political themes this movie is delving into, is specifically through the prism of punk rock, British punk rock, which is very uh, angry and protesting and expressionistic and all that kind of stuff. Uh, so I really like this movie a lot. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah, it's, but you got to watch the UK cut. If you see a 93-minute cut of this movie streaming online somewhere, stay away from it. You want the 104-minute cut. That's the cut you want, which would be an hour and 44 minutes or so. That's the cut you want of this movie. We don't have anything, I think, yet in the way of special features. I'm assuming that's going to be announced later on because I don't even think there's a release date for this quite yet. No, there is not. Let me just quickly go to Fun City's website and see if there's anything there. You see, they haven't even announced it on their website yet. You have to go to their Facebook page. Our buddy Jonathan Hertzberg over at Fun City is doing great work recently. Racing with the Moon and Lifeguard came out, two really good films. Baby It's You is coming out very soon as well. When is Baby It's You? Yeah, Baby It's You is coming out next month, April 15th. And then I think the month after that is Falling in Love, the film starring Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro. That's coming out May 6th. So I'm assuming that Breaking Glass will be June. Uh, if if they're going to be doing one a month, that would be my guess. Uh, but yeah, that's Breaking Glass. This punk rock film. It would work well with the movie Times Square that Kino's put out. Coincidentally, we just mentioned Kino. It would work very well with that movie as like a double feature. So let's see. We've already talked about those. Here's one that's interesting. I got to watch this late last night. Probably not the best film to watch at 3 a.m., but we do what we do here on Chasing Labels. We're talking about Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. Okay, The Beyond is getting a 4K UHD release from Grindhouse Releasing. So Grindhouse Releasing is a company that we don't talk about much here on Chasing Labels, simply because I don't think they've done a lot recently. They've done several things in the past, but they haven't done a lot recently. For example, I think they only had, it's that one, two, yeah, I think they only had two releases last year. So yeah, they only had two releases last year. Excuse me. But back in 2011, they put out The Beyond on Blu-ray, and it's no 2015. Sorry, back in 2015, they put out The Beyond on Blu-ray in a limited edition, and now they're re-releasing that in a 4K UHD version. So that is super exciting. I think right now it's exclusively at their website. You can only pre-order it from their website, and I have to assume this is going to sell very, very fast. I think it's going to be limited to 3,500 copies. This is a Lucio Fulci film. Lucio Fulci is a giant in the horror world. Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, Mario Bava, Lamberto Bava, all these big time names have many of their films have gotten great Blu-ray or 4K releases over the last few years. That's really awesome. And this is part of his, I think, like Gateway to Hell trilogy of films. And yeah, it's an interesting film. You can find it streaming now on Peacock, of all places. You can find it streaming on Peacock. I streamed it on Canopy if you have access to that streaming platform through your local library. I've got that. Um, it's very interesting film in terms of what it's doing. Let me get the description up of from I almost said From Beyond. That's another issue I have is I get From Beyond and The Beyond confused with one another because the titles are so close. And with their titles being so close, I just get screwed up all the time. So from The Beyond, 1981, Lucio Fulci, a young woman inherits an old hotel in Louisiana where, following a series of supernatural accidents, she learns that the building was built over one of the entrances to hell. Yes. Um, like I said, part of his uh gateway to hell trilogy, which let's see, let me make sure I get the right films here. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, Gate of Hell trilogy. It's an unofficial title of City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery. I think The Beyond was the only one I hadn't seen. City of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery have already gotten really nice additions. Those are already available. So now The Beyond was the last one to get a nice, really nice new edition. But yeah, The Beyond, what a movie! It's supernatural. It's horror. There's a sense of camp in it. Um, but what I really noticed in it is how good Fulci is at staging horror. Like the editing and the way the characters are staged and the way things are just built up and just the way the scares kind of come in is done so well, and the practical effects are great. Yes, they are of course dated. It's 1980, and you're going to notice there are a lot of dummies used and a lot of fake blood and fake guts and fake everything, and it's obvious, but man, does he really go for it. He doesn't shy away from the gore. um, so you got to give him credit for that, and it's Lucio Fulci, so it's all really good stuff. And the ending of the movie, I won't spoil it, but what an ending! What a movie! What a movie! That's The Beyond. I don't. Let me go check the Grindhouse website to see if we've got anything yet in terms of special features. Yeah, so Grindhouse releasing. This is who's putting it out. Let's see. Nope, the pre-orders are now live. I'm curious if there are any available. Oh, nope, sold out. So, I spoke too soon. The Beyond UHD Deluxe Eye of Ivan edition, limited 3,500 units for USA and Canada only. Is the pre-order is already sold out. I can imagine what's going to happen on the third party market, eBay, places like that with this edition. I tell you, horror fans in our community, in the boutique label community, they love this stuff and they buy it up very, very fast. Yeah, this was a web store exclusive. So yeah, I think it was a six. Hold on, I have the deets on it. I think it's a 6 disc edition, but the one of the discs is a CD. Yes, 6 disc set, a 4K Blu-ray, 3 Blu-rays, um, a DVD, and a CD. New 4K restoration from the Technoscope negative, Dolby Vision and HDR presentation of the film. Yeah, oh yeah, there are so many special features. I completely ignore what I was just saying. There's 2 versions of the film. There's the original theatrical cut. There's the composer's cut of the movie. Uh, 3 separate commentary tracks as well. Um, there's an in-depth interview with director Lucio Fulci that went all along with the stars. Um, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff on here. There's new archival interviews as well. There's a bonus DVD. There's a bonus CD, like I said, with new composers cut soundtrack by Fabio Frizzi, remastered from the original studio master tapes, deluxe debossed book of Aben packaging. Yeah, the book of Aben, that's something that's in the movie. Um, but yeah, so the premise of this movie is that this woman inherits this hotel that's on top of this gateway to hell, and just murders things start happening. Supernatural things start happening. It gets weird. It gets unhinged. It gets gooey. It gets gory. It gets fulchy. It gets fulchy. But yeah, this is all the pre-order for this is already sold out. But keep your eyes on the internet for it. I don't know if there's going to be some that are going to show up at Diabolic DVD, at Orbit DVD, or Grindhouse Video. I don't know if that's going to happen, but keep your eyes out there. It's supposed to come out in April, so in a month from now. Keep your eyes out for that. That is The Beyond by Lucio Fulci. We have some other comments here. Iacona23 also said, I'm very interested in England in the 1970s and then into the Thatcher period starting in 1979. Check out the book State of Emergency for Insane Story of when Britain hit rock bottom in 1974. Yeah. Well, I'm fascinated when it comes to history. A little background for me is my degree is in history. So I've been a history buff ever since I was very, very young, very, very little. So cultural history is fascinating to me, especially in the more modern world and how it dictates a lot of modern times. And yeah, in England in the 1970s, things kind of bottomed out, bottomed out culturally and historically. So, um, and even in the movie world, in the movie world, in the history of movies and history of film, uh, the time during the 1970s in Great Britain is not a great time. Um, Coincidentally, during that time in the United States, in America, that was our Renaissance. That was our, the new Hollywood era. That was when we had Scorsese, Spielberg, William Friedkin, Peter Bogdanovich, Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas. All of that was happening in the United States, while the opposite was happening in England. It wasn't until the 1980s that England had a revival their in their cinematic history, in their film world, which is very fascinating to me. Because if you look at a lot of the films from Great Britain in the 1980s, those are a lot of the ones that people do remember. People do remember. But that is interesting. Thank you for that recommendation. I'm going to add that to my read list on Goodreads. Let's see. Iacona23 also says, my favorite non-English language film industry is Italian cinema from 1945 to the 1970s. Interesting. I would say that that's probably my favorite time as well, because you've got um, Italian neorealism in the late 40s with Roberto Rossellini. And then you've got, of course, Vittorio De Sica as well. And then you've got people like Fellini as well that would start off in the world of Italian neorealism and then kind of start doing their own things later on. Like early Fellini is not the same as later Fellini. You know what I mean? Um, uh, you know, Juliet of the Spirits is not the same as um, some of his later work, like a Marquardt and stuff like that. Um, I think it's Juliet of the Spirits. I'm probably completely baffled, botching that entirely. Um, but like La Strada is not the same as Eight and a Half. You know what I'm saying? Two very different movies from the same director during different times. Um, yeah, Italian film from that time period. That's where I learned about Italian film starting out, was in that post World War II world, which was just shattered by Europe was shattered by the events of World War II, literally in pieces, crumbles, like cities were destroyed, all that kind of stuff. And then you got the film industry trying to make movies inside of that, which is fascinating to me endlessly. Then we've got Jeff K. Jeff K says, would love to get the Beyond. The price is a bit much, though. I'm hoping for a standard edition. Considering what I just said about it selling out already in pre-orders, we may have to wait for a standard edition, Jeff. That may be what we have to do. That's just the way things are. So yeah. So that was the Beyond, and then let's see what else we have. We have some things here from 101. Uh, let's see, what do we have here from 101? We got two films, Shrunken Heads and Creepazoids. Let's take a look at what Shrunken Heads is. You can imagine what Shrunken Heads is about. Kind of says it right in the title of the thing. So Shrunken Heads. Let's see here. So Shrunken Head. There is a Full Moon Pictures release of it from 2021, but I want the UK release from now. Ah, yes. Here we go. Oh, good. They have them both in the same thing here on Blu-ray.com. So British label 101 Films has informed us that it is preparing a Blu-ray releases of Richard Elfman's Shrunken Heads from 1994 and David DeCoteau's Creepazoids from 1987. The two releases are scheduled to arrive on the market on April 14th. So Shrunken Heads blends absurd humor with supernatural horror, infused with a healthy dose of voodoo and witchcraft. Excuse me. Originally set for a full theatrical release by Paramount Pictures, the film's bizarre nature reportedly shocked executives. Big surprise. Big surprise. So much that the theatrical run was scrapped. However, due to contractual obligations, Paramount released it on VHS, which only contributed to the growing cult appeal. That wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. So, when three inner-city kids are murdered in a gangland showdown gone wrong, a mysterious witch doctor opts to drag them back from the grave. Well, most of them anyway. The voodoo priest leaves the boys' bodies and only reanimates their heads. Now this trio of floating craniums is left to fly around New York with only one thing on their minds: revenge. That is that movie, Shrunken Heads. Then we have Creepazoids. Originally released direct-to-video during the VHS boom, Creepazoids was made on a shoestring budget of just $150,000. However, much like the output from Charles Band's various studios over the years, the final product boasts surprisingly high product values. It was shot on 35mm. Interesting. Creepazoids tells the tale of five army deserters who wander the post-apocalyptic, post-industrial LA landscape seeking shelter from an increasingly toxic environment and poisonous rain. They end up in an abandoned laboratory where they explore and eventually run afoul of a cavalcade of genetically engineered creatures, including mutant rats, a monstrous baby, a massive, bloodthirsty, H.R. Giger-esque beast, and something even more malevolent. I don't know how you can get more malevolent than that. But yeah, this is the movie Creepazoids. So you've got Creepazoids and you've got Shrunken Heads, a horror VHS double feature from 101 Films coming out on April 14th. So Creepazoids has an audio commentary by the director, and Shrunken Heads has a behind the scenes and making of featurette called Video Zone. So that is it from those guys. Let's see. We talked about all of those. Oh, one more here is a movie called Oil Lamps. This is a movie that is put out by Second Run. And I always like to plug Second Run because I think they put out really good stuff. And it's stuff that's very obscure, at least obscure to me. And it's usually like more Eastern European type of stuff, like Scandinavian films and things like that. And it's usually stuff that I'm not familiar with. But they are a UK only company. Perhaps that's why we don't talk about them much. But this is a movie called Oil Lamps by Gerard Hers. Of course, there's nothing in the way of details here. So in 1900, Stefa, the vivacious 30-year-old daughter of a wealthy couple, agrees to marry her cousin Paul, who has accumulated large debts as an Austrian army officer. Paul refuses to work or to consummate the marriage, and then his health steadily declines. That is the description of the movie. I was hoping to get a little bit. Let's see if I can go to their Facebook page. What's it, Second Run? If I can get some details on that. Let's see. Second Run just put out an edition of Golem, which is actually something I really, really want to get. Let's see. Yeah, I would have to scroll. Oh, no, there we go. Coming out April 21st, Oil Lamps. Film by Gerard Hers, from the director of The Cremator, Morgiana, and Beauty and the Beast. I feel like these have come out before. Distinctive decadent film is adapted from the renowned novel by Yaroslav Havlicek and set at the turn of the century in the final years of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This atmospheric period drama is a bitter romance which centers on the tragic marriage between two cousins, Stepa, a vivacious, modern-minded, wealthy young woman, but who is desperately seeking love and happiness, and Pavel, an arrogant, selfish, retired army officer weighed down by debt, cynicism, and, unfortunately, syphilis. That could be why his health is declining. If you had syphilis a century ago or a century and a half ago, it was kind of a death sentence, if you will. Penicillin, I don't think was quite around then. If it was in the early stages of development. As you can imagine, medication and health things have evolved greatly over the last century and a half. Um, let's see. It says, hers' lavish oil lamps evokes a pungent atmosphere of decay and features superb performances by its two leads, gorgeous costume and set design, stunning cinematography, and a wonderful Lubos Fizer score. You have some special features here. Oil Lamps, the movie, presented from a new 4K restoration by the Czech National Film Archive. Okay, so this is a Czech film. A projection booth commentary with film historians Mike White, Kat Ellinger, and Jonathan Owen. If Kat Ellinger's here doing special features, it's a movie you got to get, or at least watch. Conversations on a Train, an early short Czech public information film on the perils of alcohol and STDs from 1947. Seemingly still a modern-day concern for many, I assume. Booklet with new writing on the film by author and Czech cinema expert Peter Hames. And it's the world premiere on Blu-ray. Hey now, that's also really cool. You can find it on Diabolic, and I'm pretty sure Orbit DVD will get it as well. But yeah, I do like Second Run. I say that and I don't have any of their releases, but I've never heard anything bad about them. And I do really like that they're kind of they're one of these labels that are unearthing and putting out cinema that you just don't see all the time. And it's cinema that doesn't really get a lot of spotlight when it comes to home media and things like that. So that's really, really cool. So that is the movie Oil Lamp from Second Run. Let's see if we've got some other comments here. We do have one from Iacona. Iacona 23. Wow, what a double feature. Creepazoid's great name for a horror film. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It sounds wacky, but also sinister at the same time. Kind of like that animated series Freakazoid from the 90s, the one that was produced by Spielberg. What a wacky decade for animation. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, we were exposed to a lot of weird animated series. Ren and Stimpy, Freakazoid, the Animaniacs. There's a lot of weird stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff has struggled to come out in physical media form. Like Animaniacs took a long time for us to get all of it out on DVD. Let alone forget, like, when people come to me and say, do you think we'll get any like 90s animation, like Nickelodeon and stuff like that, get that stuff out on Blu-ray? I doubt it. It was such a struggle to get for them to put it out on DVD that I doubt we're going to get any of that on Blu-ray eventually anyways. And I don't think a lot of that was made with the intention of high quality home video releases. Keep in mind, back in the 90s, home video TV was not really a thing. That wasn't a thing until the DVD era. There were VHS tapes. You could buy VHS tapes, but it wasn't as big of a market as it became in the 2000s and the 2010s, and it's kind of dissipated since. But animation, the way they made animation back then, a lot of the masters were done on videotape. So a lot of it's analog stuff, especially stuff from like the 80s as well. Like things like He-Man and Transformers and things like that. Those are all like analog, SD tapes. You know what I mean? To go back to upgrade that would be incredibly expensive. But let's see. Now let's dive into some of the slates. Let's go to the slate. Let's go to Kino, actually. We talked a little bit about Kino earlier. Let's go to Kino now. Kino didn't have much to talk about in the last 2 weeks or so. Although the last couple of days, they definitely add a little bit more to the plate. But we'll go back and pick up where we were left off of before. We had just talked about Kingpin was getting a release. And then after that, after Kingpin was announced getting a 4K UHD release, we're getting another 4K UHD release of another comedy film. This is of the movie MouseHunt. This is the movie starring Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. Christopher Walken is in a scene or two in the movie. And this is the movie directed by Gore Verbinski, who directed The Ring. He directed Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. He directed Rango. He directed The Lone Ranger. He directed, oh goodness, what's that other movie he directed a few years ago? Let me see. Let me go to his IMDb. The one with Dane DeHaan. I have it too. It's on my shelf somewhere. I could look at my shelf, but I have to go digging. Let's see. A Cure for Wellness. A Cure for Wellness, which is his most recent film, 2016. Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, Gore Verbinski has not directed a movie since then, since A Cure for Wellness. He directed also The Weatherman with Nick Cage, The Mexican with Brad Pitt. Yeah. But let's get into MouseHunt. This is a childhood favorite of mine. Favorite, I think, is a loose term. It's a childhood memory of mine, I should say. I own this on VHS. I never bought the DVD. I know it was released on Blu-ray at some point, and I saw the Blu-ray in stores. I just never bought it. The Blu-ray came out in 2021. And it was put out by Paramount. Yeah, Paramount. This is a Paramount release. This is part of the Kino Paramount deal that they've got going on, which is kind of keeps bearing fruit. So MouseHunt is a movie that it's like a dark kids movie in the vein of Tim Burton and stuff like that. Not quite as dark and stylized as that, but it's just got a dark tinge to it. This movie, like I said, stars Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, and they are brothers. And their father dies, and their father is this big owner of a string factory company or whatever. And what they not only inherit the string company, they inherit his property and money and stuff like that, and they inherit this house that they weren't aware of existed. It's this old, rundown house, but it turns out that this house was made by a very famous and very well-known and very well-loved architect. And now it's worth so much. So they decide that they are going to sell it at auction, but they're going to make a couple of repairs here and there to it. But what ends up happening is there's a mouse living in it. And this mouse just starts causing all kinds of havoc. Well, it's more like they start causing the havoc because of this mouse. They're trying to get rid of this mouse before they put this house up for auction, and just a series of zany, over-the-top, unhinged things happen that just just go crazy. It just ramps up and up, and they just end up doing all kinds of weird, crazy things. Meanwhile, they're trying to get this house ready to be sold, and there's financial issues as well when it comes to the factory, and all kinds of brother family stuff going on too. I like the movie. I hadn't revisited since the VHS days, and rewatching it was like going back then. So it's a nostalgia trip for me. It's got music by Alan Silvestri. It's written by Adam Rifkin, who worked on Small Soldiers and has been a director in his own right. I believe it's Adam Rifkin from Detroit Rock City. Yeah. If you didn't see it when you were a kid, I don't know if it's going to translate well to you now as an adult, if you don't have that nostalgia built into it, but it works for me. Coming soon on 4K UHD, brand new HDR and Dolby Vision Master. We have no date yet. We have no special features yet either. And I'm not sure. Let me go check to see if that Blu-ray had any special features. The one from Paramount from a few years ago. It did not. It had From the Cutting Room Floor deleted scenes, and that is it. It was 15 minutes of deleted scenes. Maybe they'll put a commentary on this, because they typically like to do that, like we've talked about. But that's about it. Let's see what next. We've got another film, and that is coming soon on 4K UHD from a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master. Airplane 2 the sequel from 1982, starring many, many people. Man, so Airplane is an all, in my opinion, is an all-time classic comedy. It's one of the best, satirical films of all time, one of the best spoof movies of all time. It kind of set the tone and set the precedent for, spoof movies, for satirical films. Of course, you had Mel Brooks doing his thing at the time as well. So you got Mel Brooks, you got the Zucker brothers here as well. Um, it's yeah, but this sequel here is not loved by many. I would say that, specifically in relation to the success and the belovedness of the first film. I've seen this movie years ago, way before I was even on Letterboxd. I think I watched Airplane and watched Airplane 2 back to back. So let's see. I'm just going based off of the Letterboxd review, a Letterboxd description. A faulty computer causes a passenger space shuttle to head straight for the sun. A man with a past, Ted Stryker, must save the day and get the shuttle back on track again, all while trying to patch up his relationship with Elaine. So, what you have here is essentially the same plot from the first movie, just dialed up to another level. The first film, it was an airplane that was having problems, and Ted Stryker had to step in and land the plane, as well as mend his relationship with Elaine. And this time, they're on a space shuttle with a bunch of passengers. If anything, it's more apropos now because we're getting, sometimes we can send people to space, with you know passenger planes and whatnot. Um, but yeah, it's wild, it's camp. You got a cast here of so many people that pop in and out. Lloyd Bridges, I think, is back once again. Just some of the names here: Raymond Burr, Chuck Connors, Rip Torn, Julie Haggerty, Robert Hayes, of course. A bunch of other people pop in and out of this movie, like Sonny Bono pops in at one point. It's been years since I've seen the movie, but it's fine. It's taking, like I said, it's taking the first movie and making a remake of it with dialing it up to the next level. That's what it is. Um, that's Airplane 2, the sequel. The sequel. So let's move, and that's getting a 4K UHD release, while the first Airplane has a 4K release, I believe. Let's see, Airplane. Let me make sure that I'm not just talking out of turn. Airplane's been re-released on home media so many times. We're talking VHS, Laserdisc, DVD a couple of times, a Blu-ray a couple of times as well. Airplane 2 has already gotten a Blu-ray release as well. Yeah, back in 2017. Airplane's been released a bunch of times. Yeah, I've got it on Blu-ray. They even released a remastered Paramount Presents edition of Airplane as well. I think there's a yeah. So they haven't released Airplane on 4K individually, but you can buy Airplane in the ZAZ The Collection, which is a collection of Paramount films, Paramount comedy films that are done by David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker. It's got this collection includes Airplane, Top Secret, and The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Yet again, all those movies have been released on Blu-ray before, DVD, but currently the only way you can get Airplane, the first film, on 4K, is in the ZAZ, the collection. Um, which I'm hoping they release it individually, because I'm one of those people who don't really like to have franchise um, collections, like all in ones. Like they've done it for the Matrix, they've done it for the Hunger Games, they've done it for Lord of the Rings a bunch of times, they've done it for Fast and Furious. Every time a new Fast and Furious movie comes out, they come out with a new franchise collection. They've done it with so many different people, different franchises like X-Men and so many, and the Marvel stuff and Batman and Superman, all this kind of stuff. I like to buy them individually personally, just because of the chance that they're going to come out with another one later on. And as we've seen over the years now, that's what they've done. We got a new Matrix movie. You know what I mean? We're getting new Hunger Games movies now. We get a new Fast and Furious movie all the time. We're getting new Marvel movies every few months or so, or however that goes. You know what I'm saying here? that's just me personally. That's just me going off on a rant here. But let's see. Let me move on from Airplane to the sequel to some other stuff here that's being put out by Kino. So we've already talked about the movie Prophecy. Yeah, Prophecy from 1979. It's coming out May 20th. It's a 4K UHD release as well as a Blu-ray comes along with it. Yeah, I think the Blu-ray just has the special features. That's what it looks like. But we've already talked about that movie before in the past and that release in the past. They've just announced the date and they've announced the special features package with that. Moving after that, we've got a new announcement, I believe, and that is The Amorous Adventures of Moll Flanders from 1965. Now, I know nothing about this movie. It's coming out on May 20th, and it's got a brand new HD master from a 4K scan. From a 4K scan of the 35 millimeter original camera negative. This new restoration by Paramount gives us the home entertainment debut of the 131-minute uncut and uncensored version of the film. New audio commentary by film historian David Delval and Daniel Kramer. Very cool. So let's see what this movie's about, shall we? It's merry old England when Moll comes to London. The ravishing Kim Novak stars in The Amorous Adventures of Moll Flanders, a body comedy based on the novel by Daniel Defoe, who wrote Robinson Crusoe, apparently. An all-stars supporting cast, including Angela Lansbury, Victoria De Sica, Leo McKern, George Sanders, one of my favorites, Lily Palmer, and Cecil Parker. Joins the fun as Moll sets out on her well-laid plan to make schemes come true in 18th century London. She masquerades as a penniless scoundrel posing to win the presumably rich Moll. What a perfect match. Lavishly directed by Terrence Young, who directed a couple of James Bond films, specifically From Russia with Love. The fortunes and misfortunes of the famous Moll Flanders adds up to a rollicking, ribald, cinematic romp. That's a lot of R words right there. Yeah, sounds interesting. Sounds interesting to me. I'm curious. I'm assuming it's going to look incredible, given the brand new HD master. So yeah, I'll be checking that out eventually. So next we have Bottoms. So I talked about Bottoms last time, so I won't spend too much time talking about it now because I think this is just that they are announcing. Yeah, this is their announcement of Bottoms. It's finally getting a Blu-ray release. This is the Emma Seligman. This is her film from 2023. The comedy starring Rachel Sennett as well as Ayo Edebiri. And this is, yeah, I talked about this like it was either last time or the time before. So this is her follow-up film to Shiva Baby. If you haven't seen the movie Shiva Baby, it is very, very good. It was one of my favorite films the year it came out. That was Emma Seligman's first film, and I thought it was really good. It's a 70-minute feature film, and it's really, really good. But Bottoms was her follow-up, and The Bottoms is a completely different type of movie. This is a raunchy, like high school teen angsty comedy, and which I enjoyed. You have to be in the mood for that type of comedy, and you've got to be kind of in the vein for it as well, because it's a bit over the top, a bit silly, a bit sophomoric. Yeah. So in this refreshingly unique comedy directed by Emma Seligman, two girls played by Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebiri, start a fight club as a way to lose their virginities to cheerleaders, and the bizarre plan works. The fight club gains traction, and soon the most popular girls in school are beating each other up in the name of self-defense. Like I said, wild, over-the-top scenario here. That's not all the movie's about, but it's part of it. Of course, their friendship is at the core of all of this stuff. Yeah, I like the movie. So that is Bottoms. Next, we talked about this last week. Quick review here. Coming May 27th is the Audie Murphy Collection Volume 4. It has The Kid from Texas, The Sumerian Kid, Drums Across the River. I believe, yeah, each movie is getting an audio commentary, a new audio commentary. But what is new this time around is that the Audie Murphy Collection Volume 5 was announced. And these are movies from 1956 to 1964. And these include Walk the Proud Land, 7 Ways to Sundown, and Bullet for a Bad Man. Audie Murphy was in a lot of Westerns. And military movies. For those of you who don't know who Audie Murphy is or was, um, Audie Murphy was, I believe, a Medal of Honor recipient from World War II, and then he became an actor and movie star after that. I actually have one of his films here. I think he's in the Bud Bedecker A Time for Dying, which I mentioned last time as well. So that is Audie Murphy Collection Volume 5. And it doesn't say special features yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be similar to Volume 4, where we get a new audio commentary for each film. That just seems to be the Kino way now. This is coming on June 24th. So Kino's already talking about June titles. Yeah. The Audie Murphy Volume 4 is May 27th. Audie Murphy Volume 5, June 24th. Yeah. So moving on from there, we've got coming soon on 4K, no date, no special features yet, is The Peacemaker, starring George Clooney, Nicole Kidman, and let's see, directed by Mimi Leder, who directed Deep Impact. Now, let me get a synopsis up for this, because I have actually not seen this movie. I remember when this came out. Yeah, 97, I was 10 years old. I probably saw the trailers for this, or TV spots, or at least the movie poster at the cinema, because I was at the cinema all the time back when I was a kid. So, The Peacemaker. When a train carrying atomic warheads mysteriously crashes in the former Soviet Union, a nuclear specialist discovers the accident is really part of a plot to cover up the theft of the weapons. Assigned to help her recover the missing bombs is a crack special forces colonel. I'm assuming that is George Clooney. So, if I remember correctly, Mimi Leder directed Deep Impact, but also directed Pay It Forward. Pay It Forward was a movie they showed us when we were in school as a kid. I think in like religion classes too, coincidentally, because it's the movie starring Kevin Spacey, Helen Hunt, Haley Joel Osment. I think it was the film Haley Joel Osment was in right after he was in The Sixth Sense. It has this whole idea about paying it forward. The idea that, if I do something if I do something good for someone, they do something good for someone, and then that person does something good for someone. You know what I mean? Like that idea. Which is it's a noble idea. But yeah, I remember the movie Pay It Forward, which I don't even think has ever gotten a Blu-ray release. Maybe it has. Just curious. Nope, never gotten a Blu-ray release. At least not here. Gotten one in Spain though. Interesting. But back to Kino, that is the George Clooney and Nicole Kidman film The Peacemaker. And then last up, which was just announced about 7 or so hours ago, is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, which is a movie I feel has gotten so much not love, but it's been released a couple of times now. So I have I'll Sleep When I'm Dead from an Imprint release that was put out a couple of years ago. So that's how I have the movie. Let's see. I want to say it came out at least 3 years ago at this point. And that's the movie starring Clive Owen. Yeah, it came out in 2023 from Imprint and is now coming out from Kino in 2025. It's coming out May 27th, 2025. Coincidentally, it was released March 29th of 2023, nearly 2 calendar years ago. And this is a movie that is directed by Mike Hodges. Mike Hodges, who is, I think, an underrated director. He directed the Get Carter movie with Michael Caine, which is a really good film. There's a good BFI release of that movie as well. Yeah, I think Mike Hodges recently passed away. What a great, really solid director. Really solid director. Let's see. So I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Let's see. We've got a brand new HD master with 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. I don't know if the Imprint edition had that or not. I'm not sure. I think I have it someplace over there. Or maybe I have it on my shelf. It's either in my shelf or on my couch here. I'm not sure. I was gonna check the back to see see what the special features were. I guess I can do that now. Um, let's see. So the special features for the hold on, I have to check my headphone batteries are dying coincidentally. Let's see. It's a brand new HD master, audio commentary by director Mike Hodges and writer Trevor Preston. Mike Hodges and I'll Sleep When I'm Dead featurette. Select scenes with optional commentary by Hodges and Preston, and that is it. And yeah, the imprint release has a little bit of has the deleted scenes. Actually, it has the deleted scenes, has the audio commentary, and I think has this documentary, this featurette on it as well. Yeah. Okay. So it's very comparable to to each other. So that's I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is a really good movie. Um, I think it's Mike Hodges' final film. Yeah, it's Mike Hodges' final film. He was also the director of Croupier, also starring um Clive Owen as well. That got an Arrow release within the last year or two. Um, yeah, this movie is like a psychological crime drama. Charlotte Rampling's in the film. Michael McDowell's in the film as well. If I remember correctly, Clive Owen plays an ex-gangster who has kind of left the world. He's gone off and he's away from it now. But his younger brother ends up dying, and he ends up having to come back to town because they say that his brother died of suicide, but he doesn't believe that. He wants to figure it out on his own. So he has to basically go back into the world of organized crime and go back to his old haunts, his old connections, and find out what actually happened. And that's the movie, and it's really, really good. And I recommend people getting either the imprint release or getting this release, or just watching the movie any way you can, because it is that good. So that is it from Kino. That's it from Kino. Um, let's move over now to Warner Archive. Warner Archive here has their oh boy, which month are they releasing now? Is it this month's or is it next month's? This is their April releases. Okay, this is their April releases. So we've got Springfield Rifle from 1952, Slide Street from 1950, Lily from 1953, Three the Hard Way from 1974, Clean and Sober from 1988, and they are releasing Wacky Races, the complete series from 1968. I love seeing more animation, more Hanna-Barbera goodness. That's so awesome. But before we dive into what I got to watch from these, let's see what we've got here for comments. Audie, let's see, Iacona, or I don't know if it's Iacona or Lacona. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, but Iacona 23, Audie Murphy, most decorated American soldier ever, and he is a very underrated actor. His westerns are good. I may have to get those. Yeah, they've been putting them out for years. They've been putting out Audie Murphy collections for years, as well as they've been doing for other actors and actresses and things like that. Like I have the Cary Grant one, I have the Ida Lupino one, I have the 2 Carroll Lombard sets that they put out. There's a couple more that I still need to get that are actor centric. Specifically, there's one for Rock Hudson. I've got to get the Rock Hudson one. Yeah, I know, and they are very affordable. That is the thing; they are very affordable. Just the thing for me is those box sets. Those boxes themselves are very thin cardboard. If you drop them or if you like bump them on any surface, soft or hard, they're gonna dent so easy. They're gonna dent so easy. I had to order the Cary Grant one twice, and they came beat up both times. To the point where I had to end up ordering it a third time to get to get one that wasn't damaged, because like just in shipping, if you move the package in the wrong way and it's not in a good package, that thing is destroyed. Um, so that's unfortunate when it comes to those sets. Uh, well, let's see. We are in Water Archive land. I just want to make sure to check my headphones are on like 20% battery, but I have other headphones here next to me just in case these die. Let's see. So, Springfield Rifle is a movie starring Gary Cooper. This talk about westerns. This is a western. Academy Award winner Gary Cooper stars as Union officer in the United States' Civil War who goes undercover pretending to be court-martialed to uncover who is stealing army horses and selling them to the South before they can hijack a delivery of the new Springfield Rifle. While delivering a shipment of horses desperately needed to mount a big offensive in the United States Civil War, Union Major Lex Kearney is overwhelmed by a band of Confederate raiders. Rather than risk the lives of his men, he sounds retreat, leaving the precious cargo behind, for which he faces a court-martial. But this is only a ploy to send Kearney underground to find who has been stealing horses from the Union Army. Yeah, so you've got Gary Cooper, ever stoic, in this military officer role who gets dishonorably discharged from the army, only then to go undercover and in the opposite army, in like the rebels, the Southern Army, to see who's been stealing their supply train, who's been attacking, stealing their supply train. And the movie's fine. It's good. I enjoyed it. You got to really dig Gary Cooper being unbelievably stoic all of the time. This is him, I believe, right after he had done High Noon, so he's in that Gary Cooper type mode. But I feel like Gary Cooper was always like that. He was ever stoic, even in his early days, his early like 1930s work. He was still very stoic actor. And yeah, this role is kind of primed for that, if you will. Yeah, it's good. This is getting a 4K restoration from the original camera negative. For those of you who've been listening to this long enough, Warner Archive's work is impeccable. Their restoration work over the last decade has been amazing. I wish I had some Warner Archive stuff here to show, because I just put one on my shelf. Yeah, I've got no. Oh, I've got some stuff here. Hold on. This could be a calamity I've got here in the making. Okay, let me move this stuff here. I've got a Warner Archive title here. I have I'll Cry Tomorrow, starring Susan Hayward, which looks very, very good. They all, like I said, they all look very, very good. Let me move that back there. So I've got this for Warner Archive right next to me. And this story was filmed on location inside a woman's soul. Wow, that's a heck of a tagline. This is the film directed by Daniel Mann, starring Susan Hayward. I think she won an Oscar for this, or was nominated. This is a really, really good film. I forgot how good this movie is. I got to put this on top here because I want to give it a rewatch so that I can add it, so I can put it in on my shelf over there. Yeah. So Warner Archive has been doing great stuff. And we've got, in the way of special features, just as classic cartoons, Feed the Kitty, Rabbit's Kin, which I assume are Looney Tunes cartoons. Joe McDoke's short, So You Want to Enjoy Life. I'm guessing that's a short film. But next we have Side Street. Now, Side Street is a movie directed by Anthony Mann. And this is a film noir. Anthony Mann directed both film noirs as well as westerns. And he did both very, very well. This stars Farley Granger. So, this thrilling Anthony Mann-directed film noir classic follows a part-time postal clerk who, in a moment of desperation, takes what he thinks is $200, but finds himself haunted by the police and in the underworld for stealing a $30,000 intended blackmail payment. New York City postal worker Joe Norson, Farley Granger, wants nothing more than to provide a comfortable life for himself and his wife, Kathy O'Donnell, who is pregnant. Out of frustration, he steals $30,000 from the shady lawyer Victor Backett. However, the theft was higher stakes than Joe could have imagined. Backett extorted the money from Emile Lorison, an innocent man whom he framed in a sex scandal and later murdered. Spoiler alert. Trying to hide the money from his wife, Joe gives it to his friend Nick Drummond for safekeeping. When Joe attempts to retrieve the money and return it to the back, he finds himself caught up in a murderous web. Basically, what happens is he goes back to get the money so he can return it, and the money is gone. And now he is caught up in a whirlwind of problems. This is the wrong man scenario to a T. Um, to the point where um it's noir vibe. It's completely noir vibes, and if you know film noir, it can get dark and depressing. Really good film, really good film. I had never seen it before. Anthony Mann does really, like I said, was really good noir films. And I've always been a big fan of Anthony Mann. I have an Anthony Mann section in my collection. It's mostly of his westerns. I've got to get some of his earlier stuff. Um, but this is getting a 4K restoration from the best preservation elements. Audio commentary by Richard Schickel, who was a longtime film critic. Featurette where temptation lurks. Crime does not pay. Crime does not pay short. The luckiest guy in the world. Classic cartoons. Goggle Fishing Bear. Polka Dot Puss. And then original theatrical trailer, and that's it. This is coming out April 29th, as well as Springfield Rifle is coming out April 29th as well. I think these are all coming out April 29th. So these will all be like the last release day of April. And that is Side Street, the Anthony Mann film. Next we have Lily. Or let's see. This is orphan Lily Dorier joins a carnival and falls under the spell of its star, a suave magician. But it is the show's crippled, embittered puppeteer who truly loves Lily, a love he can express only through his puppets. It is not often that the world is not often that the word enchanting can accurately be applied to a musical. Clive Hirschhorn wrote in the Hollywood musical, but it was the best way to describe Lily, as well as Leslie Caron's genuinely touching performance. Nominated for 6 Academy Awards, Lily offers sentiment without sugar, simplicity without banality, and lyrical heart that beats to an Oscar-winning Bronislaw Capers score, highlighted by High Lily, High Low, and an imaginative sequence of Caron dancing with her beloved puppets come to life. Mel Ferrer, Jean-Pierre Aumont, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Amanda Blake, and Kurt Kasner also star. Enjoyed this beloved classic as never before in all its Technicolor glory. Now, it is a 4K restoration from the original Technicolor negatives. The fact that they have the original Technicolor negatives is amazing to me, because for those of you who don't know, film restoration in early Golden Age Hollywood simply did not exist, especially their Technicolor original negatives. For many films are long, long gone. They disappeared into history. So the fact that they have it is incredible to me. And the movie's probably going to look so good. There are rather beautiful sequences in the movie. The Technicolor is probably going to just scream right off of the screen. This is a very sweet, very caring movie. It's a romance, it's a drama. There's some light moments to it. There's some sentimental moments to it. I rather enjoyed it a lot. I'm a sucker for romances like this, old Hollywood romances. Especially when it's you've seen the story before, when a woman falls for this dastardly guy who's not a good guy. He's not good to her at all. But she, for some reason, was really taken with him because he's the bad boy, I guess. But really, it's the other nice guy who is the one that's right for her. And it's the one that really cares about her a lot. And that's this movie. That's this type of movie. There's a lovely sequence at the end of this movie that is so, like, just magic of movie type of sequence that I really, really liked a lot. That is the movie Lily. Let's see what we got here for special features. Let's see. Classic MGM cartoons, The Impossible Possum, Pecos Pest, and Puppy Tail. That's it. That is the one thing when it comes to a lot of Warner Archive releases, is that I've said this over the years here on Chasing Labels, is you don't get much in the way of special features. If this movie was released in the past on DVD, you'll get what was ever on that release. And if there was nothing, then you're getting nothing. If it's a first time release, you're probably just going to get the movie, which is okay, because like I said earlier, the movies look fantastic. And that's kind of, at the end of the day, what I look forward for in a release. First and foremost, does the movie look good? And then after that, you kind of prioritize what you're looking for. But when it comes to old classic films, things that are put out by Warner Archive, to me, the most important thing is having them on disc, having them in good quality, having them being preserved, and getting to watch them at my leisure. You know what I mean? Uh, that is, like I said, that is Lily. Next, we've got Three the Hard Way. So, Three the Hard Way is a black exploitation film from the '70s, which is really cool. They've been putting out a couple of these here and there. Warner Archive has. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Three the Hard Way. At the height of their big screen popularity, three 1970s superstars head the cast of the action thriller Three the Hard Way. Directed with style and panache by Gordon Parks, who directed Superfly, audience favorites Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly command the screen as a trio with a mission. They're out to stop a secret white supremacist organization that plans to contaminate the water supplies of Detroit, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. with a substance that is a lethal poison only to the black population. And that's the premise of the movie. They've got to stop this evil neo-Nazi KKK organization who are trying to poison the water supply of all these major metropolitan areas with a substance that only affects the black population. You may think it's a silly movie, but if you've seen the rise of racism, or not even the rise, just the open showing of racism that exists now in our world, this movie could have been made today, and it wouldn't have been too far fetched. It wouldn't have been inappropriate. It wouldn't have been out there. Um, I mean, what's cool about this movie is you get three of the biggest, stars of the blaxploitation genre of that time in it, and they are just kicking ass in this movie. That's basically the movie. They're just kicking ass and finding out facts. That's the movie. You got a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, and that's it. Original theatrical trailer as well. Um, yeah, but it's cool. I'm glad we're getting more blaxploitation on Blu-ray. That's kind of awesome. Um, Hold on for 1 second here. I have chronic dry eyes, so staring at a screen for so long dries my eyes out, and I need to constantly be lubricating them all the time. It's quite a chore. But next up here is Clean and Sober. Now this is a movie starring um, Michael Keaton. So when the comic star of Night Shift and Beetlejuice tackled his first dramatic role, coincidentally he did Night Shift before this and he did Beetlejuice after this, I think. This is this is 19 yeah, this came out in 1988. This is the movie Clean and Sober. When the comic star of Night Shift and Beetlejuice tackled his first dramatic role, the result was one of Michael Keaton's best performances ever. Okay, um, earning the National Society of Film Critics Best Actor award, Keaton plays real estate broker Daryl Pointer, whose cocaine habit consumes him until he enters a local detox program, promising direction and privacy. It also guarantees one more thing: the toughest battle of his life, powerfully directed by Glenn Gordon Caron, and boasting other great performances from Kathy Baker, Morgan Freeman, and M. Emmett Walsh. Clean and Sober is a hard-hitting study of beating personal demons one day at a time. Yeah, this is a very serious movie. It's a movie, as the title suggests, about getting clean and sober. And you have, at the center of this, you have Michael Keaton's character, who, you've seen the story before. He's got these demons he's wrestling with that he's not taking seriously until he does. And he's got to go through the trials and tribulations in his personal life to overcome those and to work with those. And along the way, he meets people who either help him or don't help him. One of them in this film is Morgan Freeman, who's kind of the leader of this inpatient program at this rehab center. And Emmett Walsh becomes his I was going to say his sponsor. And then he meets Kathy Baker, who becomes who's also in the program, who's dealing with her own personal battles, and he ends up getting into a romantic entanglement with her. It's a movie where you've seen before, and it's still, this idea of overcoming one's demons when it comes to substance abuse is a very contemporary thing. It's something people will are still battling now, will battle in the future, have battled in the past. You may know people in your life, you yourself maybe have gone through these types of battles. So it's a very, sincere contemporary type of movie with a lot of those themes in it. And Michael Keaton is great in the movie. And like the description suggests, at the time in the 80s, Michael Keaton was a comedic actor. He had been in Night Shift, he had been in Mr. Mom. He had not really tackled dramatic work yet. And in this movie, he does do some comedic things as well. But this is a very dramatic film for him in Clean and Sober. Um, yeah, Mike. So this is a nice kind of pluck from the Michael Keaton catalog that was a film I wasn't aware of before. So that was really, really nice to watch. So Clean and Sober, it comes with a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, and that is it. But last year, and certainly not least, and I won't go over it because we don't really talk about TV here, or is the Wacky Races, the complete series. Like I said, it's a Hanna-Barbera classic from 1968, new 4K restoration from the original camera negatives. That's awesome. They're gonna look great. Like I said, I've got my, where are you? They're down here. I've been collecting them right along here now. I've got, for those of you who just arrived here later, those of you listening here in the future and have skipped ahead, I've been collecting the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Blu-rays. I've also been collecting the Yogi Bear stuff as well. This is the last one I had to get, Yogi Bear and the Invasion of Space Bears. For some reason, like I mentioned earlier, this has been absurdly cheap for months now. I don't know why. But I've been collecting a lot of their animation Hanna-Barbera stuff. I've got still a few more I've got to get before they start adding on to the collection. And that brings me to this. Now I'm reminding myself there is another Looney Tunes collectors series that they are going to be starting up. And it is called, I think it's called literally what I just mentioned. It's called Looney Tunes Collector's Vault series, and they just announced a volume 1. So let me go to, let's see, let me go to, excuse me, let me see if I can find some information on it. Let's see, yeah, Warner Classics. Yep, here it is, right here. So Warner Archive. If you go to Facebook, they're called Warner Classics now, but they're still called Warner Archive on all of their releases. And what a weird rebranding! I tell you, of all the studios that's kind of having a big identity issue nowadays, Warner Brothers is the most puzzling to me. I mentioned earlier that they just took off all of their Looney Tunes properties from HBO Max to be able to stream. They've taken off a bunch of Scooby-Doo and Tom and Jerry stuff on there as well. And I'm baffled because like that's like part of your identity. That's part of Warner Brothers' big time franchise, big time properties for decades now. Why would you make it unavailable for people to see and for people to watch and for people to get interested in? It makes no sense. Marketing is all over the place. But anywho, back to Warner Archive. Coming on June 17th from Warner Archive Collection. Now, June 17th is my birthday. So this is my birthday gift to myself. It will be Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 1. The new collection will feature 50 uncut animated shorts across two BD50 discs, two Blu-ray disc 50 discs. Disc 1 will contain 25 shorts never before remastered on DVD or Blu-ray, so all new stuff. Disc 2 will contain 25 shorts never before on Blu-ray, so I'm assuming it'll be stuff that they had put out on DVD in the past, perhaps things that were on their golden collections or their spotlight collections or something like that. In the near future, we will announce further details of this collection, including the titles of the 50 classic shorts which will be included. So they haven't announced which titles which will be included yet. To be honest, I don't need to know. I'm buying it anyway. I'm buying it anyway. I'm not hesitating at this point. When it comes to the haphazard way the streaming world is working now, buy everything that you want to watch. That's going to be my kind of motto going forward. Streaming, we've never been negative about streaming here on Chasing Labels. To be honest, I've been so like my philosophy is watch anything you can, when you can, how you can. You know what I mean? Because life is so short. These opportunities that we have in life to do things and to experience things we love, whether it be movies, music, sports, entertainment of any kind, do it while you can because you don't know when you won't be able to anymore. Um, so whether it's streaming, whether it's physical media, whether it's whatever, just get it while you can. But if they're gonna keep taking away the stuff we love from streaming services, we've gotta get it somehow. We have to have it somehow, and physical media is the way to go if it isn't indeed available in that way. So let me check some other comments here because we just finished up Warner Archive. Let's see. Iacona23 did say, Iacona, you are saying it right. Thank you. Thank you. Iacona23 also says Anthony Mann is an incredible director. He is. I've always loved his work. I remember Martin Scorsese saying a lot about Anthony Mann's work in his journey through American cinema. That documentary, which I still needs a really nice disc edition, in my opinion. There's a DVD, but it's not great. To me, Anthony Mann, my exposure to him has mostly been westerns, specifically the stuff he's done with Jimmy Stewart. The Jimmy Stewart ones of like Winchester 73, which just got a 4K UHD and Blu-ray release finally from Criterion. That just came out. The Tall Target, which just got a Warner Archive release. That's another good Western from him. Bend of the River, The Naked Spur. I still need to get The Naked Spur. The Far Country, that's another really good one. But his early stuff was in the realm of noir. T-Men, Raw Deal, He Walked by Night, good stuff. Good stuff from Anthony Mann. Let's see here. And then Sparkito says, Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patty's Day to you as well, Sparkito. And happy St. Patty's Day to all of you who celebrate. I've said this before. I live about an hour south of Boston. And if anybody knows about the population makeup of Boston, it's very, very Irish, if you will. If you've seen The Departed. You've seen The Departed. Yeah, so they've had all kinds of parades today, probably in the Boston area, and also down here as well, and of course across the country too. I'm assuming so. So let's see. We've talked about Warner Archive. We talked about Kino. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's go to our buddies over at Radiance. Let's see. Where are you? Yes, Radiance. Here we go. So yeah, Radiance has a couple of interesting releases, but including their first ever 4K UHD edition. So our buddies over in the UK, Radiance, Fran Simeone, who runs Radiance over there, we've had him here on Chasing Labels twice. Super awesome dude, doing great work at Radiance. I just mentioned I've got catching up on my Radiance releases. I've got Scream and Scream Again. I just got Scream and Scream Again, which I should have bought a long time ago, but that went out of print. So I've got my limited edition of that, and then I've got a bunch of stuff around me. But first 4K UHD edition is the movie Palindromes. The movie Palindromes, which is I believe, a Todd Solondz film. I just want to make sure I'm correct here. Let's see. Yep, Todd Solondz. And this is once again, if you know Todd Solondz, if you know the work of people like Todd Solondz, Greg Araki, Harmony Korine, all of those types of people, they are known to push the envelope. By push the envelope, I mean they go beyond the envelope. They destroy the envelope and go millions of miles ahead of it. And Palindromes is in that vein. It's not quite like the movie Happiness, which is Todd Solondz's other film, but it's in that vein. Very uncomfortable, very dark, very the themes in it, the depictions in it of what it's going, of what it's, talking about, what it's discussing, is going to irk a lot of people. It's not going to be pleasant for people to watch, and I understand that entirely. These movies are kind of made to do that, push people's personal barriers, if you will. So, so Palindromes, which came out, let's see, I think came out in 2004. Yes, 2004. Ever since she was small, Aviva has desperately wanted a baby. Now a teenager with thoughts and feelings for well-meaning parents, Joyce, portrayed by Ellen Barkin, and Steve, uh, portrayed by Richard Mercer, don't quite know how to handle. She'll stop at nothing to make that dream a reality, played by a cast of rotating actors, including Jennifer Jason Leigh and Sharon Wilkins. Aviva's journey towards motherhood never would run smooth. Bringing his trademark dry wit to another series of taboos, Todd Solondz's portrait of middle American girlhood interrogates the naivete and hypocrisy of the post 9/11 psyche and continues to shape U.S. public life and policy. Um, Very interesting that they would put that like that. So this movie is actually a sequel to another Todd Solondz film that, let's see if I have it here. Hold on. I do have it, but it's way, way down here. I'm not going to be able to get to it without knocking over a bunch of movies. But it's a sequel to uh what's that movie that actually Welcome to the Dollhouse. Welcome to the Dollhouse, which was one of the first movies that Radiance released way back in its inaugural year of movies, which was 2023. So back in 2023, they released Welcome to the Dollhouse, and then this movie is a sequel to that in the sense that it picks up certain threads from the end of Welcome to the Dollhouse, specifically when it comes to the main character in that movie and the connection that our main character actually has to the main character in that movie. They're actually related. They're cousins, actually. And so um, you're picking up from the end of that movie into this movie with this person going of Aviva going through this journey of, I would say, self-discovery, which it kind of is, kind of isn't. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things, and it's really hard to describe. But the way in which this movie goes through the journey of this character of Aviva is each scene and each situation that she goes through, you get a different actress portraying the character. So you get a different tone and different feeling and different scenario in each situation that this character is put in. And it's fascinating to me because this character runs away from home, so therefore is on their own literal journey and figurative journey as well. Yet again, the movie is dark. It's a Todd Solondz film. If you're familiar with his work of like Happiness and Welcome to the Dollhouse, things like that, you know what you're getting yourself into. If you're not, you don't know those movies, this is probably not the best place for you to start. I would go in very cautiously with Todd Solondz. But that being said, this movie is very challenging. This movie is very interesting to me. But like I said, also this is their first 4K UHD release. There's a Blu-ray edition of this as well. It's a 4K and Blu-ray dual format limited edition, and we got some special features here. It's getting a 4K restoration from the original camera negative by the Museum of Modern Art, approved by writer-director Todd Solondz, 4K UHD with Dolby Vision HDR, and a Blu-ray presentation of the movie. Let's see, new interview with Todd Solondz with critic Hannah Strong from 2025. Todd Solondz and his Cinema of Cruelty, a new video essay by critic Lillian Crawford from 2025, and that is it. So you get some new stuff here. You got new stuff here directly from Todd Solondz himself, which is, it's great to hear directly from the director, especially from him now. Like, what does he think about this stuff now, as opposed to when he made the movie back in the early 2000s? So that is Palindromes by Todd Solondz, being put out by Radiance Films in 4K UHD as well as the Blu-ray, and this is coming out. Let's see, this is part of their June titles. This is part of their June titles. I think this is June 23rd. Next, we have World Noir Volume 3. Now, there's a World Noir Volume 1 and World Noir Volume 2. I think World Noir Volume 1 is out of print right now, but you can buy the movies individually in standard edition form. I'm still trying to hunt down the limited edition box set, which you can find on eBay, but it is rather expensive, as one would guess. As one would guess. So, World Noir Volume 3, very cool stuff we've got here. We've got three films. One's called Not Guilty. The next one's called The Lost One, and the third film is Girl with Hyacinths. So, Not Guilty, a wickedly enjoyable noir from prolific French genre director and French national swimming champion Henri Dequan. Not Guilty sees Michel Simon as an alcoholic yet brilliant doctor who, after accidentally causing a tragic accident while in a drunken stupor, covers his track by weaving a complex web of lies and engineering havoc within a small town. So this movie is all about like hubris and ego and what that does to someone. Um, a very interesting film because it's about also somebody dealing with chronic alcoholism too. And one day he like mistakenly ends up killing someone and stages it as an accident so that he doesn't get caught and gets away with it. And he gets away with it because he's so good at staging something to look like an accident because he's a doctor that now he thinks that he's like, oh, I'm a brilliant doctor now. There's the hubris. And he starts like being good at his job, which gains him more hubris. And what comes with the hubris is also a sense of insecurities, like lots of insecurities. It's a very complex mental type of movie, which I rather enjoyed a lot. I thought it was very, very good. The Lost One is a movie directed and starring Peter Lorre, and it's the only movie he ever directed. So Peter Lorre, who I'm pretty sure many of you know from M, the Fritz Lang's M, or Casablanca, or many of his other films that he was in, um, stars in, and for the first time and only time in his career, directs the story of a troubled man navigating post-World War Germany while haunted by a terrible secret. Contemporary German audiences, shattered by the war, found this bleak depiction of their country too depressing and painful on its release in 1951. Since then, The Lost One has achieved recognition as a significant work of both noir and German cinema in its own right. So, what you have here is this movie about this guy who has kind of run away from his past and it's now caught up with him. And he's got to kind of recollect about what he did during a very difficult time, being, World War II, and kind of reconciling with that and how he's going to reconcile with that. And that's the movie. And Peter Lorre is really good in the movie. Really good. Um, yeah, and that last here is Girl with Hyacinths, this early example of Nordic noir. Nordic noir, which is a cool subgenre to me, is regarded as one of the great films of Swedish cinema. And the masterpiece of Hasse Ekman, one of Sweden's most important and influential directors, following the sudden suicide of a mysterious young woman, her neighbors are compelled to investigate the circumstances leading to her death in a twisty, formerly daring, and taboo-busting narrative that feels far ahead of its time. So yeah, what you've got here is a a movie that takes place. Now it takes place. A movie that's starts off with a mysterious death of the woman that you don't really know anything about, and then the movie slowly explains through recollections and flashbacks like what happened and how this woman ended up dying. And it's mysterious because, like I said, you don't know anything, and then things certainly become clearer and clearer, and certain relationships and connections become more clearer, and then all the pieces come together in the end. That's the movie. So really good collection of films here. Like these World Noir box sets from Radiance really like uh, compile stuff that you've never probably have never heard of before in different parts of the world. We have French, German, and Swedish films in here, so that's really really cool. But let's see what we got here for some details. So 4K restorations of Not Guilty by the TF1 presented on Blu-ray for the first time with English subtitles. High definition digital transfer of Lost One presented on Blu-ray for the first time with English subtitles. And then 2K restoration of Girl with Hyacinths presented on Blu-ray for the first time outside of Sweden. Cool. Let's see. That's it. No other special features are listed here. Nothing in the way of like featurettes or commentaries or interviews. We do get a limited edition 80-page book featuring archival pieces and new writing by critics and experts, including Farron Smith Neame, who is very, very prolific. Martin Waits, Elena Lazick, Jordan Searles, who I think I see that person on Twitter a lot, and more. Cool. Oh, no, there is. Oh, I lied. There are special features. I had to scroll down. My fault. I didn't scroll down far enough. Not Guilty has a new interview with critic Imogen Sarah Smith on Not Guilty. Archival Michael Simone radio interview from 1947. Wow. Archival behind-the-scenes radio documentary from 1947. Alternate ending. Then The Lost One has an interview with critic and historian Pamela Hutchinson on Peter Lorre and The Lost One. Interview with programmer and historian Margaret Darias on post-war German cinema in 2025. Girl with Hyacinths, new audio commentary by Peter Jomstad from 2025. Archival interview with Haas Ackman from 93. Visual essay by novelist Julia Armfield from 2025. So yeah, good special features here. Next time I gotta remember to scroll down enough. This is also coming out on June 23rd. So next we've got a Japanese film, and that is the movie Tale of Oiwa's Ghost. So Tale of Oiwa's Ghost, when the daughter of an elite family takes shine to poor samurai Lemon, he sees an opportunity to climb the social ladder. He just needs to rid himself of his only obstacle, his loving wife Oiwa. He poisons her and dumps her corpse in a nearby swamp, but she returns as a horribly disfigured ghost to haunt Lemon on his wedding night. Crime film specialist Taikato brings the famous ghost story of Yatsuya to the screen as a gritty tale of murder and greed with an intense lead performance by Wakayama, who was in the Bounty Hunter trilogy and the Big Time Gambling Boss. Now, that story may sound familiar to all of you because I believe it's been adapted many times, but it's already been released in another adaptation by Radiance themselves. So we've got The Ghost of Yatsuya is another adaptation of this same story. So if you've got this set here, you have an adaptation of that story already. So, and you've seen it. But this box set here, I think, is one of the best box sets Radiance has ever put out. These are three Japanese ghost stories. It's The Ghost of Yatsuya, the Snow Woman, and The Bride from Hades. Now, this is a great box set. If you have not gotten into Radiance's stuff yet, this is a good place to start. If you love horror films, if you love Japanese horror films of like the 50s and 60s, this one's for you. This box set's for you. This is a great box set. So as I was watching that movie and as I was reading the synopsis of it, I'm like, I've seen this movie before. And I have, because it's another adaptation of something we've already seen. But this has a high-definition digital transfer, interview with Mari Asato from 2025, visual essay on tormented female ghosts by Lindsay Nelson. And that is it. And I think we've got... Yeah, that is it. I was going to say, I thought there was a booklet here, but I'm not sure if there is. Oh, no, it doesn't say so. But that is the Tale of Oiwa's Ghost. The description pretty much says exactly what the movie is. A man, tries to get rid of his wife so he can marry someone else to move up the social ladder, and it has very dire consequences, very negative consequences, as it should. Next, we've got a movie I did not get to watch, and I'll tell you why in a second. This is a Luchino Visconti film. Luchino Visconti, for me, is one of those directors whose work is very intimidating, very daunting for me, to where I gotta be in the right frame of mind to delve into his films. Tarkovsky is the same way for me in that regard, and certain other directors too. But this film is a the reason why I didn't watch it also is that I believe it's 3 hours long. It's a very long film, and I didn't have that time to delve into it. Let's see, it is called La Terra Trema. La Terra Trema. In rural Sicily, the fisherman lives at the mercy of the greedy wholesalers. One family risks everything to buy their own boat and operate independently. This is a Luchino Visconti film from 1948. It is 160 minutes long, so not quite 3 hours, but 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. So let's see. Let me go back to La Terra Trema. In the fishing village of Asitrezza, Sicily, the Velastro family dream of a better life, living modestly thanks to merciless wholesalers. Eldest son, Tony, takes matters into his own hands and with the help of a bank loan starts fishing alone. The venture is initially a success, but an unexpected shipwreck means the family must soon fend for themselves. Sounds like familial heartbreak to me and struggles. So Luchino Visconti has directed The Leopard, Death in Venice, a bunch of other really great films. So many great films. I mean, there's this. Let me pull up some here just so people get a sense of who Luchino Visconti is. Yet again, another director that was a big influence on the new Hollywood generation of filmmakers here in American cinema. Rocco and His Brothers is another good film. He directed a movie called Obsession. Ludwig. Bellissima is another good one for him. Boccaccio 70. That's another Visconti film. The Stranger. The Innocent. Yeah, I have The Leopard, and I've had it for so many years, and I haven't watched it yet. I've gotta watch that soon. That's another heavy film to watch. Luchino Visconti's The Leopard. Let's see what we got here. 2K restoration of the film. New interview with critic Christina Newland. Interview with Italian politician and journalist Pietro Ingrao. Interview with assistant director Francesco Rossi. Interview with Turi Vasil. Yep, and this is also coming out at the end of June as well. I think these are all coming out on June 23rd. All right. And one more thing I do want to mention here is that they are re-releasing Haxan. Their limited edition of Haxan has sold out, and they are re-releasing it in a special edition form. So I wanted to make sure to mention that because I know that's a popular film amongst a lot of cinephiles. And also, I want to make sure to mention that. Scrolling back down, where are you? I'm looking for Haxan. I can't find it. Let me look in their sold out section. Let's see. Yeah. Yep, there it is. Their limited edition are sold out, and I'm pretty sure they're re-releasing it in a special edition version. I think it may be similar to the limited edition, but just I want to say more standard packaging. Because their limited edition was a thicker packaging, probably a la. Okay, this makes a lot more sense now. This is me completely guessing because I don't have their version of Haxan, but I'm assuming it was similar to their version of Messiah of Evil, which I'm holding up here. Which their initial limited edition of Messiah of Evil was this thicker packaging, thicker cased packaging. And I'm guessing their Haxan special edition will be a more standard edition, kind of like exactly what they did with Messiah of Evil. So, that is it for my friends over at Radiance. Every single month, they've got new stuff announced and new stuff coming out. If you go over to their website, which is radiancefilms.co.uk, literally at the top of the page, it says next announcements, April 9th. So when April 9th rolls around, we'll be back here doing this again. So that is it from Radiance. Now we'll go over to Imprint, and then we will go to Criterion. I think that will be it. Let's see. Yep. We just did Radiance, we've done Warner Archive, we've done Kino, we've done all the individual ones I wanted to talk about, including The Beyond from Grindhouse Releasing, which is already a hot seller. And then now we will be doing um, Imprint and then Criterion. There we go. A little crossover here, coincidentally. Didn't plan this at all. There's a bit of a crossover here between Imprint's releases and Criterion, because a lot of the stuff that Imprint has just announced, Criterion has already put out. So this is going to be another box set month from Imprint down in Australia. These are their May releases, and we have 3 box sets here. We've got directed by David Lean, Volume 1, 1942 to 1948. This is Imprint Collection number 407, 407 releases. Crazy. Then they have a film focus box set of Carroll Baker, 1961 to 1965. This is Imprint Collection 416 to 418. And then, so Imprint Collection, the David Lean is Imprint Collection 407 to 413. Carroll Baker's 416 to 418, and then Laurence Olivier's Shakespeare trilogy from 1944 to 1955 is 413 to 415. Why they didn't just swap the Carroll Baker and the Laurence Olivier thing so that the numbers would all line up and my OCD wouldn't go crazy, I don't know why. So let's get into this piece by piece, starting off with the David Lean box set. And the reason why I mentioned Criterion is because Criterion has already put out their own David Lean box set many, many, many years ago. I've had it in my collection now for a heck of a long time. Let's see. It's called David Lean Directs Noel Coward. I've had this. This came out in 2012, and I'm pretty sure I bought it in 2013. Like I've had it in my collection for 12 years. And here it is here for those of you listening at home. It's the Criterion Collection, David Lean Directs Noel Coward Blu-ray box set, which it has In Which We Serve, This Happy Breed, Blithe Spirit, and Brief Encounter. And all of those films are in this Imprint box set. Plus two more. And the two more are Great Expectations and Oliver Twist. So what's unique about this is that if you want to know where to start with David Lean, of course, is the director who made Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, and Dr. Zhivago. If you don't want to tackle those long epic films and you want to ease your way into David Lean's filmography, this is where you start. Because these are his first 6 films: In Which We Serve, This Happy Breed, Blithe Spirit, Brief Encounter, Great Expectations, and Oliver Twist. Those are his first 6 movies. So this is a great starter pack for David Lean enthusiasts. And what is interesting is I'm pretty sure. Yeah, what is interesting is that before this, in David Lean's career, is that he was an editor in the 1930s. So he didn't get his first job until he was a co-director on In Which We Serve with Noel Coward. And I was reading some background information on this, and Noel Coward kind of immediately recognized that David Lean knew a lot more about filmmaking and a lot more about directing than he did, and basically just let him take over the production of In Which We Serve, because he was like, you know more about this, you're doing a better job than me, here you go, just do it. And that's how we kind of got the great David Lean's career to kickstart, is in this kind of fashion. So In Which We Serve is a movie that was made as a propaganda film during World War II. It came out in 1942, so right in the middle of the war. If you're any familiar with how World War II went, it wasn't going so well for the good guys at first. It was not going well for Great Britain, France, and the United States would not join the war officially until 1941 after Pearl Harbor. So up until this point, things were not going very well. So they needed to kind of express to the world that they needed help. So a lot of movies were made during World War II that were propaganda films that were to show the harsh realities of the war, to garner help for people from other allies and all this kind of stuff. The Alfred Hitchcock film Foreign Correspondent is a movie like that, where uh, it was made before the United States had gotten to the war. At the very end of that movie, and not a spoiler, it's a very direct call for help. Uh, and yeah, it's fascinating. So, In Which We Serve is a movie that it depicts life on the home front and the harshness of the home front, but also in the war front too. Let me pull up the synopsis for In Which We Serve on Letterboxd. Let's see. So this is the story of the HMS Torn from its construction to its sinking in the Mediterranean during action in World War II. The ship's first and only commanding officer is Captain E.V. Kinross, who trains his men not only to be loyal to him and the country, but most importantly to themselves. Sorry, I'm bumping into my microphone here. Um, it's it's a film very much uh depicting not only the men on the ship, but things around that. Let's see what they say here. So, a thrilling war film written by, co-directed by, co-scored by, and starring Noel Coward. This is the suspenseful true story of the sinking of the ship HMS Kelly. The surviving crew of the HMS Torn desperately cling to life after being attacked by German bombers during the Battle of Crete. That's kind of the framework of the story, but it's about other things too. It's kind of about what I just said, where you're getting kind of recollections and remembrances of like the home front and all this kind of stuff. It does star Noel Coward too. Noel Coward, for those of you who don't know, he was a playwright, director, composer. He was kind of a Renaissance man. Um, and a lot of his work, I'm pretty sure many of you have heard about it in school. If you haven't, well, that's Noel Coward. I didn't, unfortunately, didn't get to delve into a lot of his work in school myself. It was a lot of stuff I had to delve in afterward. This movie was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay. It's got a 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray. A new interview with Melanie Williams, author of David Lean. Audio commentary, audio recording of a conversation between actor Richard Attenborough and Noel Coward. Richard Attenborough, I believe, is in the movie, and it's his first ever film that he was in. A profile in which we serve featurette, and that is it. I just for comparison's sake, I'm curious about what's on. So, a profile in which we serve is on the Criterion. But there's a new interview with a different, but the other stuff isn't. The other stuff is not on the Criterion. Oh no, the audio recording of a 1969 conversation between actor Richard Attenborough and Coward is also on the Criterion. So the one thing that's not here is, the one thing is the new interview with Melanie Williams. That's the only thing that's different from the Criterion. Next is The Happy Breed, which I watched last night, which is a really, really great film. This movie is entirely takes place in England on the home front. David Lean and Noel Coward reunited for this somber wartime drama based on the play by Coward of the same name. Yeah, it's based on a play I think he did, I think in the late 30s, I want to say. A couple with 3 children have their modest household touched by joy and tragedy from the tail end of the First World War to the beginning of the Second. So what you have here is the life and times and the trials and tribulations of a family from 1919 all the way up to 1939. So you've got that 20-year in-between war period, in between World War One and World War Two. And the backdrop of that is the changing of the times and the changing of the ways and certain big-time events that happened in English history during that 20-year period of between 1919 and 1939. And so you see like the death of the king, you see the abdication of his son, you see the taking over of his other son, you see the grumblings and the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany, and how their influence is spreading into England as well. Their messed up ideologies and all that kind of stuff. So it's rather contemporary in that regard, in the sense that you see kind of the spreading of political and cultural ideas over time, and we see that now if we live the way we've lived now. So that's very, very fascinating how this movie depicts all of that this with within the setting of familial drama. Like I said, it all takes place in a very stage-like way, based on a stage play. So it's all really set inside of this one home, and what this family goes through. The happiness, the sadness, the changing of the time, the growing up of the children, all this kind of stuff. Really, it's a really great movie. Like this is a great movie. Um, I can't stress enough how good this movie is. So we've got here 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray. New interview with Melanie Williams, author of David Lean. I really want to read that David Lean book now. So just pulling out this Happy Breed Criterion edition. It's got a new interview about the film with Noel Coward scholar Barry Day. Interview with cinematographer, screenwriter, producer Ronald Neame from 2010. So that is not on here. So yeah, so this doesn't have either of those things. So we've got Blithe Spirit. Hold on, let me check to make sure my headphones are still on. Yes, they are. So we've got Blithe Spirit. I haven't seen this movie in years. Based on one of Noel Coward's most beloved stage plays, David Lean brought the hit black comedy to the silver screen, starring Rex Harrison, Constance Cummings, Kay Hammond, and Margaret Rutherford. A middle-aged author is suddenly confronted by the ghost of his first wife, complicating life and death for everyone around him. Now, I haven't seen this movie in so long. Let me see if I can get something else going here. In terms of the description, let's see. An English mystery novelist invites a medium to his home so she may conduct a seance for a small gathering. The writer hopes to gather enough material for the book he's working on, as well as to expose the medium as a charlatan. However, proceedings take an unexpected turn, resulting in a chain of supernatural events being set into motion that wreak havoc on the man's present marriage. Okay, that's a little bit more descriptive than what they're saying over on the Imprint site. Let's see, when did I see this movie? 2021. Wow. I should remember it, but I guess I don't. That's what happens when you watch hundreds of movies a year. You just end up forgetting things. But let's go back to see what the special features are looking like here. And let's see how they compare with the Criterion. So we've got 1080p high definition presentation, new interview with Melanie Williams, author of David Lean. The South Bank Show, retrospective of Noel Coward, hosted by Melvin Bragg. And that is it. Let's see what we got here on the Criterion. Good thing I brought out this Criterion just for comparison's sake. New interview about the film with Noel Coward scholar Barry Day, episode of the British television series The South Bank Show from 1992 on the life and career of Noel Coward. So, yeah, you have that already if you have the Criterion. Next and last of these Noel Coward kind of collaborations here. But certainly probably the most well-known. This is one of the most probably beloved and, like I said, well-known David Lean films, and this is Brief Encounter from 1945. I've referenced this movie so many times here on Chasing Labels. I've referenced it in real life so many times. Widely regarded as one of the greatest British films of all time. Brief Encounter is a romantic epic starring Trevor Howard and Celia Johnson. Nominated for Best Actress Academy Award for her performance in this film, a casual friendship between two middle-class suburbanites evolves into a passionate yearning, leading to a difficult decision that will affect both of their lives. This movie, you got these two characters who meet and spend time with each other just at a rail station as they're traveling on their day-to-day lives, if you will. And they strike up this connection, they strike up this relationship, this romance that is so, powerful and so connective, and but they're both married. They both have lives outside of this area. And they don't even lead like they don't come from bad marriages. They don't come from, broken, troubled homes or anything like that. But that's the crux of it all. What do you do? What do you do when you have that powerful connection with someone, when you're already in a relationship with someone else, a marriage, if you will? Um, but the movie is so good. Oh, the movie's so good. It's so good. Um, for special features, 1080p high definition, new documentary on the works of David Lean, part one, new interview with Melanie Williams, author of David Lean, interview with actress Margaret Barton, interview with continuity assistant Renee Glynn, interview with actor Richard Martin Thomas, a profile of brief encounter featurette, restoration featurette, and that is it. Let me see what we got here for special features on the Criterion. So we've got audio commentary by film historian Bruce Eder, new interview about the film with Noel Coward scholar Barry Day, a profile of brief encounter, a short documentary from 2000 on the making of the movie, and then David Lean, a self-portrait, a 1971 television documentary on Lean's career. So that is on the Criterion. So you've got different special features. Different special features. The only thing that really carries over is the profile a brief encounter, because you don't get any of those interviews on here. So that's all of those kind of connective tissues. But then you've got two more films here. See, I may have to. Yep. Hold on, I'm just switching out my headphones. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, my old headphones died, so I've got to work on these. I've got to use my new ones. Let's see. Yeah, the one thing I don't like about these new headphones is I can hear an echo in my head of my own voice. But let's see, where was I? Oh yes, two more films here. You get Great Expectations, based on the beloved Charles Dickens novel. John Mills and Valerie Hobson star in the Oscar-winning classic drama. A poor young blacksmith's fortunes change dramatically when the generosity of a mysterious benefactor propels him to London to begin his journey toward becoming a gentleman. Labeled as the greatest of all the Dickens films by Roger Ebert, the film was nominated for Best Picture, and David Lean was nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards, and critics continue to praise the film now almost 80 years since its release. Yeah, it came out in 1946, and it's almost 80 years. 79 years this year. And this movie, I don't believe, has gotten any Blu-ray release, at least not here. Unfortunately, because I've always wanted to see this. I did not get to see this or Oliver Twist. Truth be told, I've always wanted to read Great Expectations and read Oliver Twist and then watch the movie adaptations. So there is a Blu-ray release in the UK for Great Expectations back in 2008. But nothing here in the US. I think this is. Let me check. Just quickly, I thought it was a Criterion DVD. It is a Criterion DVD that came out in 1999. Holy heck. Holy heck. That's a while ago, people. Yep, it came out. I remember seeing this at Barnes and Noble Criterion collection sales, and the DVD being like it looks like it's been there since 1999, and like it's been there forever. This desperately needs some type of Blu-ray release here, but it is coming in this box set, and it's coming with a 1080p high definition presentation, new interview with Melanie Williams, and then that's it. That's it. So let's move on to Oliver Twist. Acclaimed actor Alec Guinness stars in David Lean's adaptation of the iconic Charles Dickens novel, a brilliant study of classicism and charity. Oliver Twist is an extraordinary boy, but he's destined for greatness, a poor orphan born behind the iron gates of a bleak parish workhouse. Oliver packs up his curiosity and courage and heads for the wild, winding streets of London, embarking on an adventure that will change his life forever. Yeah, it's the classic Charles Dickens story. Let's see, 1080p high definition presentation, new interview with Melanie Williams, new interview with child actor Donald Westcott, a profile of Oliver Twist featurette, casting appeal for Oliver Twist archival featurette. Now, I believe this has gotten a Blu-ray release, I want to say from Twilight Time, of all people, of all places. Let's see, Oliver Twist. Maybe it didn't. No, I guess it did not. I thought it did, but it did not. Let's see. This is something that's been... Oh, this is another Criterion DVD. Okay, this is another Criterion DVD that came out in 1999. This is another one that desperately needs an upgrade from them. Got it. Got it. That's probably where I've seen it before. That makes sense. Okay, let's see the special features. I think I went through all that already. So that is the David Lean box set. Directed by David Lean, Volume 1, 1942-1948. Imprint collection number 407 to 412. You get In Which We Serve, This Happy Breed, Blithe Spirit, Brief Encounter, Great Expectations, and Oliver Twist. The first 6 films directed by the great David Lean, directors of such films as Lawrence of Arabia, The Bridge on the River Kwai, and Dr. Zhivago. Next, we've got the Carroll Baker box set. This is Film Focus Carroll Baker, and I've only seen one of these movies, unfortunately. I've only seen Something Wild. So you've got Something Wild, Sylvia, and Harlow. And just to move things along here, Something Wild is when college girl Marianne Robinson is brutally attacked, her world is shattered, unable to carry on a normal routine. Marianne moves to New York City and accepts a job at a dime store as she struggles to come to grips with her ordeal. Sinking into isolation, she attempts suicide and is saved by a concerned bystander. Lonely auto mechanic Mike. Marianne moves in with Mike, but soon questions his motives for wanting to help. This is a very, I'll talk about contemporary, this idea of dealing with physical trauma, which then turns into emotional, mental trauma, then having to, move on with your life from that point. And how do you deal with that, specifically at a time in the early 1960s, where we don't have, if you're just looking at it from a contemporary perspective, you don't have the resources that you have now to deal with that. At that time, violence against women was not taken as seriously as it is now. Granted, the systems that are in place now are not ideal. They're not great. They're not foolproof. They're still incredibly problematic and incredibly improper. They don't work well. There's just a lot of issues with all of that stuff now. This is 1960 that we're talking here. So, maximize those issues too. So this movie is really interesting from looking at it from a contemporary lens. And Carroll Baker is very, very good in the film, if I remember correctly. But let's see what we got here for special features. New interview on Something Wild with historian and author Foster Hirsch. Interview with film professor Lucy Bolton on the career of Carroll Baker. I know Carroll Baker from the Lindsay Baker box set from Severin. That was work she did later on when she was no longer actually making Hollywood films. She was making films in Europe with Umberto Lenzi. So that is Something Wild. Something Wild. Not to be confused with some of the later films called Something Wild. Not to be confused with the Jonathan Demme film from the 80s. But next we've got Sylvia. This is a worldwide first on Blu-ray. Lovely Sylvia West lives quietly with her flowers and books until her millionaire fiance assigns Macklin, a private detective, to investigate her past. Sylvia becomes less and at the same time more real to him as he uncovers an unsavory past. Oh, interesting. So special features here: new interview on Sylvia with film historian / author Foster Hirsch, new video essay on Carroll Baker by Daniel Kramer. All right. And then next we've got Harlow. So follow the life of Jean Harlow as she rose to fame in reckless 1930s Hollywood. So what we have here is a Jean Harlow biopic starring Carroll Baker. That is what we have here. If you don't know this, Jean Harlow died tragically young from an illness. And she was a great blonde bombshell of the 1930s. I have several of her movies. Check out Jean Harlow's work if you haven't already. Several of her movies have made their way into Warner Archive. And she was a great actress. She died very young due to an illness. Let's see. What else do we have here? Check to make sure we're looking good. Let's see. I'm losing my place here. Sorry, I got to refocus. There's a new interview on Harlow with film historian and author Foster Hirsch. Carroll Baker looking back, a career-spanning interview with Carroll Baker. That's kind of incredible. And that's it. That is the Carroll Baker box set. We've got, Film Focus, Carroll Baker. We've got the films Something Wild, Sylvia, and Harlow. That's Imprint Collection number 416 through 418. And then last but certainly not least is Laurence Olivier's Shakespeare Trilogy. Now, another thing that I have in my collection that directly correlates and connects to Criterion is I have these movies already on DVD because Criterion released all of these on DVD, and these are the films of Henry V, Hamlet, and Richard III. Richard III, they've actually released on Blu-ray. So years ago, when they released Richard III on Blu-ray, let me pull up when they actually did do that. I was under the impression that they were going to then re-release Henry V and Hamlet like right behind it because that's that would have been apropos, and they just have not since. So yeah, they released Richard III back in 2013. So 2013, my mind was like, oh, they're re-releasing all of the Laurence Olivier Shakespeare adaptations, and they just never did it. 12 years later, no Hamlet on Blu-ray, no Henry V on Blu-ray. So I have the DVD still in my collection in this box set here. That is the Olivier's Shakespeare, Henry V, Hamlet, and Richard III, 3 films by Laurence Olivier. Now he directed and starred in each of these. Laurence Olivier is considered the greatest actor of the 20th century, and that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Once you watch these films, you kind of understand why, and you kind of agree with it entirely. So I've got these DVDs in these old Criterion DVD cases. Richard III is in a thick DVD case. Holy heck. Yeah, these came out, talk about late 90s, early 2000s. And then there's Hamlet. I'm surprised they didn't release Hamlet because Hamlet is a Best Picture winner. Yeah, I believe it's the Best Picture winner of 1948. Yeah, these are old DVDs I've got here. I don't even know what we got here in terms of special features. Oh, they are special features here. Anyway, I'll leave these out just to do a little special feature comparison. Let's see. So, I'm not gonna. So yeah, let me go through. So Henry V, obviously based on the Shakespeare, the first of Olivier's trilogy. Henry V was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. Insulted by the French court, Henry V, the arrogant young king of England, declares war on France. But when the English troops suffer devastating casualties, young King Henry realized that there is more to the leadership than royal pride. It's been many years since I've seen this movie. There's been adaptations of this so many times. Kenneth Branagh, Kenneth Branagh, he's done adaptations. of Henry. He did an adaptation of Henry V that he also starred in. He's done an adaptation of Hamlet. Richard III, there is an adaptation with Al Pacino, uh, which is fascinating to me. Um, yeah, these stories have been adapted so many times in various formats and various places for obvious reasons, because it's Shakespeare. You know what I mean? We've got Laurence, we've got Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, uh, yeah, The Taming of the Shrew has been done so many times. We've done. There's been so many Shakespeare adaptations over time. Well, let's see what we got here for special features for Henry V. Audio commentary by film historian Bruce Eder. New video essay on the film adaptation of Henry V by film writer and author Martin Contario. And that is it. Let's see. We have the same audio commentary on the DVD. Shakespeare, yeah, it's audio commentary by film historian Bruce Eder. And it says Shakespeare's Royalty, a chronology of England's rulers. That's it. That's what's on the Criterion DVD. For Hamlet. So the story of Hamlet, staged amid the grandeur of the royal court of Denmark, Hamlet is a tale of murder and intrigue, of revenge and treachery, of love and suicide, of madness and despair, of fatal decay, and even more fatal action. If you've seen the Disney movie Lion King, you've seen an adaptation of Hamlet. A brother plots to kill his king of a brother in order to take his throne, and the son has to basically take his revenge and find out the plot and prove the plot and all this kind of stuff. You've seen Hamlet done before. Filmed in chilling black and white, Hamlet is arguably both Shakespeare and Olivier's magnum opus, a twisted display of diseased power and obsession with death, forming an uncommonly galvanic film. Yeah, galvanic film. Yeah, it is good. It is damn good. Hamlet is considered one of the greatest stories of all time. It's probably the greatest Shakespeare play of all time. And it's really, and this movie adaptation of it is very good, like excellent. Laurence Olivier is magnetic. The black and white cinematography is haunting in this film. Some of the supernatural scenes, because you're dealing with ghosts and death, look incredible. For 1948, stunning. Stunningly surreal and beautiful. Man, yeah, thank goodness this is getting a high definition release from somebody. So you got a 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray from a 4K restoration, finally, because this old DVD is definitely not going to cut it. A new video essay on Laurence Olivier's Hamlet and the British war effort by film writer and author Martin Contario. A new interview with Professor Abigail Rockison Woodall. And that's it for special features. There are no special features on this DVD from Criterion. Nothing. And last but certainly not least, we have Richard III. What a conniving bastard this guy is. Having helped his brotherly king Edward IV take the throne of England, the jealous hunchback Richard, Duke of York, plots to seize power for himself. So you have Laurence Olivier as Richard III, this just conniving hunchback, like third brother in this royal family who is obviously not supposed to inherit anything, because a third brother in a royal family doesn't really get anything. Helps to put his older brother on the throne, and then tries to screw his second brother and make his way up the ladder of power through various ways. And of course, being power hungry, being power mad, having an inferiority complex on top of that is gonna have its consequences. It's gonna have its consequences. So you got a 1080p high definition presentation on Blu-ray from a 4K restoration by the Film Foundation and Janus Films in association with the BFI National Archive, ITV Studios Global Entertainment Limited, the Museum of Modern Art, and Romulus Films. So, new video essay on the Olivier/Court of Films by film academic Adrian Smith. New interview with author Guy Adams on the films of Laurence Olivier, and that is it. Quickly, I have the Criterion site open because we're going to be talking about Criterion momentarily, and that's how we'll end the show. So I've got their edition here their Blu-ray edition here, so I can check out the special features on that. So there is an audio commentary by playwright and stage writer Russell Lees and John Wilders. Interview with actor Laurence Olivier from 1966 episode of the BBC series Great Acting. Gallery behind the scenes and production stills and posters. 12-minute television trailer featuring footage of Olivier, producer Alexander Corda, and other cast and crew. Restoration demonstration by director Martin Scorsese. Okay. Hey now. There's a new essay by critic Amy Taubin. Wow. So those are everything that's on the Criterion edition. So as you can see, some differences here, especially since, yeah, actually, a massive difference. Massive difference. I think the only thing that may be similar may be the transfer. Yeah, I think the transfer may be the same, but the special features are rather different. So that is everything in the Laurence Olivier Shakespeare Trilogy, 1944, 1955 imprint collection, 413 to 415. Yeah, just let me put these back and we will continue on to Criterion. Let's see. So we've got a couple of things from Criterion because we are now done with imprint. Let's see. Let me go back to the new releases. The June titles from Criterion have been announced. Let's see here. Let me move over to that. An eclectic group of Criterion titles here, mind you. Kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm just checking something quickly before we move on. Okay. All right, so I just want to make sure that we're okay. I just want to check the stream to make sure we're good. Those of you listening at home do not care. I understand. I understand. Let's see. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Moving back to Criterion. Okay. So, Criterion, June titles. Big one here, people. William Friedkin's Sorcerer is getting a 4K UHD release from Criterion. Then we've got 32 short films about Glenn Gould. When we have the movie Midnight, directed by Mitchell Leisen. We have Thelonious Monk's Straight No Chaser. We have The Wiz, directed by Sidney Lumet. We got to talk about that a little bit. And then we've got two upgrades. We've got Mishima, A Life in Four Chapters, the Paul Schrader film. And then we've got Brazil, the Terry Gilliam film. Both of those are getting 4K UHD upgrades. Now, let's start with the Sorcerer. Let's start with Sorcerer. Sorcerer, man, oh man, oh man, what a movie by the late great William Friedkin. So, hallucinatory journey into the hearts of darkness. William Friedkin's pulse-pounding reimagining of the suspense classic The Wages of Fear was dismissed upon its release, only to be recognized decades later as one of the boldest auteur statements of New Hollywood. So, yeah, this, if you don't want, we talk here about reappraisals sometimes on Chasing Labels. This movie has been one of the most reappraised movies I think ever, because it was initially, when it came out, it was initially, panned, not liked, bombed, whatever. It was considered one of the movies to kind of end the whole New Hollywood era. That and Heaven's Gate, the Michael Cimino film. But looking back now over the years and having a retrospect on it, and it's now regarded as a masterpiece by the late great William Friedkin. So it is a readaptation of the book Wages of Fear, which the movie by Henri Georges Clouzot's film The Wages of Fear is based on. Some people think it's a remake of The Wages of Fear of that movie. It's not. It's more of a remake. It's more of a readaptation of the original book, which has the same name, The Wages of Fear. But in a remote Latin American village, four desperate fugitives, a New Jersey gangster, Roy Scheider, a Mexican assassin, Francisco Rabal, an unscrupulous Parisian businessman, Bruno Kramer, and an Arab terrorist, Amido, take on a seemingly doomed mission, transporting 2 trucks full of highly explosive nitroglycerin through the treacherous jungle. Aided by Tangerine Dream's otherworldly synth score, Friedkin turns each bump in the road into a tour de force of cold sweat tension, conjuring a hauntingly nihilistic vision of a world ruled by chance and fate. Yeah, the sequences of transporting this highly flammable and highly explosive nitroglycerin is some of the most tense cinema you will ever see. And it is expertly well directed and well staged by William Friedkin. Um, the movie is incredible. It really is. I can't stress enough. I own the Warner Brothers release that was put out several years ago. I think I have the. Where are you? Ah, here, the Digibook. Yes, I have the Digibook from 2014. It's since been reissued in a standard Blu-ray edition with regular Blu-ray case and whatnot. And it's been around for a decade. Uh, but this just goes to show that Warner Bros. Once again is opening up the floodgates, opening up their catalog to the boutique label world, which they've been doing now for the last little while. Criterion right now is taking full advantage of that because I never thought we'd see Sorcerer get a Blu-ray, get a 4K release from them. Um, the Blu-ray that came out unfortunately had really nothing in the way of special features. Yeah, there was nothing in the way of special features on the original Blu-ray release from Warner Brothers. So we're getting something really nice here. So let's see. We've got a new 4K digital restoration that was new 4K digital restoration with 5.1 DTS HD master audio soundtrack approved by director William Friedkin. Alternate 2.0 surround DTS HD master soundtrack, one 4K UH disc of the film, presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and 2 Blu-rays with the film and special features. So we've got Friedkin Uncut, a 2018 documentary by Francisco Zippel featuring interviews with Friedkin, screenwriter Wallen Green, filmmakers Wes Anderson, Francis Ford Coppola, and Quentin Tarantino, and others. New conversation between filmmakers James Gray and film critic Sean Fennessy. Archival audio interview with Green and editor Bud Smith from the collection of Julia Daniolo Valian, author of William Friedkin from 2003. A conversation from 2015 between Friedkin and filmmaker Nicholas Winding Refn, which I'm sure people have seen clips of that all over the internet. Behind the scenes footage of Friedkin on set, and there's an essay included by critic Justin Chang. Yeah, I can't wait for this release. Holy heck, holy heck! This has got to be one of the releases of the year. No, for those of you listening, this is definitely one of my most highly anticipated releases, coming out June 24th. So yeah, man, I can't wait for that. Next is a film I unfortunately was not able to see, and that is a film by Francois Girard. And this is called 32 Short Films About Glenn Gould. This is you may think, hey, that's 32 short films. That's a lot of films. Well, the movie only runs 93 minutes long. And it's a portrait. It's a rare film biography as boldly unconventional as its subject. Writer-director Francois Girard's visionary portrait of iconoclastic, world-renowned pianist Glenn Gould explodes the conventions of the form to illuminate the brilliant mind and innermost obsessions of a singular artist. Across 32 vignettes encompassing everything from dramatic sketches to documentary interviews to avant-garde animation, 32 short films about Glenn Gould pieces together the story of Gould's trajectory from child prodigy to celebrated concert pianist, who turned his back on public performances to pursue his all-consuming fascination with recording technology. Led by a tour de force performance by Colm Feore and underscored by Gould's landmark recordings of Bach's Goldberg variations, Girard's film daringly deconstructs the enigma of genius. So, something I haven't seen but am interested in seeing. This is this is a 4K and Blu-ray release. So you've got a new 4K digital restoration, supervised and approved by director Francois Girard. And this movie is from 1993. Okay. You get one 4K disc and one Blu-ray disc, new audio commentary featuring Girard and co-writer actor Don McKellar. New conversation between Girard and filmmaker Adam McGoyan. That's kind of cool. Adam McGoyan, who has movies in the Criterion collection of his own regard. one which I have. Let's see, Adam McGowan. Exotica. Yeah, his movie Exotica has a Criterion release. Really good film. Really good film. Let's see. Glenn Gould off the record and Glenn Gould on the record companion programs from 1959 produced for Canadian television. Archival interview with actor Colm Feore and producer Viv Fishman or Fickman. Okay, that is 32 short films about Glenn Gould. So that's coming out June 24th as well. Then we've got Midnight by Mitchell Leisen. Now this is a screwball comedy, um, a great screwball comedy. If you love screwball comedy, specifically from the 1930s, thinking of like It Happened One Night or um, Bringing Up Baby. If you're thinking of stuff, if you like stuff like that, you'll like this movie. This stars Claudette Colbert, who of course was in It Happened One Night. So screwball comedy doesn't get any more effortlessly elegant and gleefully irreverent than this roulette wheel of romantic deception, gleaming with cunning wit and continental elan. A couture-clad Claudette Colbert is divine as a penniless American showgirl who crashes Parisian high society by posing as a wealthy Hungarian baroness. But both a scheming nobleman, portrayed by John Barrymore, and a smitten taxi driver, Donna Mache, are soon onto her game. Here we go. No wonder why the script's so good. Billy Wilder and Charles Brackett's sophisticated script, a typically subversive blend of fairy tale escapism and caustic societal observation, and the pitch-perfect direction of master craftsman Mitchell Leisen, yields a topsy-turvy Cinderella story with a cynical bite. New 4K restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, new audio commentary with featuring author and film critic Michael Koreski, new program featuring audio excerpts of a 1969 interview with director Mitchell Leisen, Lux Radio Theater interview. Lux Radio Theater adaptation of the film from 1940. So this movie is great. So Claudette Colbert is an American showgirl who arrives in Paris basically penniless, broke, and she ends up in the back of a taxi cab who just happens to be driven by Donna Miche. I think it's either Donna Miche. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Anyway, he's this like Hungarian taxi driver, and he decides to basically kind of like take her in and like take care of her a little bit, but she ends up kind of running off into this Parisian high life party and pretends that she's this Hungarian baroness, and she takes his last name to kind of pretend, and she gets caught up in this like this game, not this game, but the scheme that's done by John Barrymore, where John Barrymore's wife is having an affair and is enamored by this other young rich guy, and John Barrymore basically says, like, I know who you are, you're not a rich baroness, but this young rich guy seemingly likes you, but he also likes my wife, but I want to break them up, so I'm going to pay you to play along with him and so that my wife will lose interest in him, because he's going to lose interest in my wife, and in return I'm going to pay you, and you're probably going to end up being able to marry this guy, and you're going to marry into wealth, you'll be all set. But in the background, the Donna Miche character is looking for her and looking to find out what happened to her, and then things kind of go from there. It's a really great movie. I really love this movie a lot. I'm gonna buy this movie. It's great. I have a lot of other Mitchell Leisen films have been released by Kino, and yeah, he's a really good director. And the screenplay is done by Billy Wilder, so it's a good screenplay. But we've got some great stuff here. Great stuff here. I really love these types of movies. This would pair up greatly with, like I said, Bringing Up Baby, or It Happened One Night, movies like that. It would definitely pair well with that, or even other like Cary Grant screwball comedies, something like Holiday, stuff like that. So I really love that stuff. Let's see. Oh, we got some comments here. Acres of Movies. I'm so sorry I'm late. No problem. Thanks for showing up. Acres of Movies also says, if you could live in the shoes of one of them for a day, who would you choose? Hancock or Harry Crumb? That's tough. That's tough. Let's see. Talk about Harry. Hold on. Am I thinking of who I'm thinking of? I'm actually not sure. I am not sure. Let me see. What is the other question? Oh, here's another question. Acres of Movies asks, better eyebrows, Peter Gallagher or Eugene Levy? Eugene Levy all the way. All the way. He even had those back in the 70s. If you watch old clips of like Eugene Levy back on like SCTV, he still had them back then. It's the Acres of Movies. Have you seen the movie Things Change with Don Amiche and Joe Mantegna? I don't think I have. Hold on. Let me see. Go to my letterbox. I have my letterbox open. I have not, but I've heard of it because it's a David Mamet. It's a David Mamet film. That's why I've heard of it. Let's see. Acres of Movies also asks, do you foresee 29th Street, the Danny Aiello, Anthony La Palilia? Oh boy, I can't say. The Danny Aiello, Anthony La Pali, La Pag, La Paglia movie getting a special edition soon. Um, I don't know. Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. That's the 1991 film. Let's see. If it does come out, that feels like a Kino release. It feels like an understated Kino release. Depending on who owns the rights to it, that's also another one. Let me see who owns the rights to it, and I can probably give you a better guess. Let's see. Okay, so it's distributed by 20th Century Fox. So with that being said, I have no idea who would put that out. Obviously, Disney would have no interest in putting that out. I don't know who would be able to get the 20th Century Fox library to get it, or just to get access to that 20th Century Fox library. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. 29th Street film with Danny Aiello. That Fox catalog is so weird now. I don't know who's putting out that stuff. Sometimes we do see some stuff being put out in the boutique label world, but it varies. Them and MGM, it varies. Let's see. Acres of Movie says, I enjoyed that movie you are mentioning with Colbert and Amiche and Barrymore. That is a classic. Yeah, Midnight. Apparently, it's a much beloved classic, like an all-time beloved classic. I just had not seen it yet until now. Acres of Movies also says, what is the 4K or movie in 4K that makes you feel like you are in that the most, or that you can see everything really clearly and it looks different, etc., etc. So basically, what movie in 4K looks stunning enough to really blow you away. I'll say this. Martin Scorsese's Hugo looks stunningly radiant in 4K. Like the movie already looked good because it's a more modern film, but that looks incredible. And because that movie is also introducing you to the world of George Méliès, it's a very visually beautiful film. It takes place in that French train station with all of that production design and all of the different details and all that kind of stuff. And then you get enveloped in the world of movies as well. Like that 4K looks really good. The Arrow 4K upgrades that have come out over the last few years, that one is really exceptional, in my opinion, to the point where I was really dug it. But there's a lot of great 4Ks out now. I just got North by Northwest. Talk about kind of Warner Brothers to a Warner Brothers upgrade. This looks exceptionally well. A lot of, like I said, a lot of the early Alfred Hitchcock stuff needs like 4K releases to where like the Blu-rays were so unimpressive to me. It was really unfortunate that those early Blu-rays did not look so good. But Hugo comes to mind. Oh, The Hitcher. My God. Um, I'll say this until the end of my life. That Hitcher 4K by Second Sight from last year, immaculate, immaculately stunning. Um, I'm still blown away by it. I'm still blown away by it. And for that movie, for them to finally put that out after like so many years, like it took 3 years from us talking about it till that movie came out, till that edition came out. Um, it looks so good. It looks so good. What is yeah? You already answered that was the 4K. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of what Second Sight does is beautiful. Um, let me just look around me. Hmm. Something that I'm glad finally got a release was the Blu-ray of Freaks. I know it's not a 4K, but the Blu-ray of Freaks is like a revelation for me because it's been stuck on a DVD release for what 20 years. It's stuck on a Blu-ray release forever. Um, I just talked about A Simple Plan, which looks very good. What else do I got around me? Oh, this just came out and this looks very good. The Searchers. Um, to upgrade from a 2006 Blu-ray to this 4K is a bit of a big upgrade. Um, I thought this looked really good. I know people had some issues with it when it came to the color timing and certain color changes from what they remember from the Blu-ray, but I thought this looked absolutely fantastic. Just kind of goddamn stunning. But yeah, let's see what else we got here from Criterion. That was Midnight, and then we've got Thelonious Monk Straight No Chaser. Now this is a documentary. You can actually watch this whole documentary on YouTube right now. This was presented by Clint Eastwood, came out in 1988. Thelonious Monk was this great jazz pianist. Um, and he was known for doing like improvisational stuff and doing really kind of changing the world of jazz piano and doing his own thing. So the closest the film camera ever got to the enigmatic jazz visionary Thelonious Monk, this intimate portrait sheds light on the corners of a brilliant and complex life, superbly crafted by direct cinema pioneer Charlotte Zwerin. From a trove of precious 1960s archival footage, Thelonious Monk Straight No Chaser captures the pianist and bebop innovator in rare, unguarded moments on and off stage, revealing an eccentric and complicated personality made with the same freedom of spirit that defines Monk's artistry. This essential slice of jazz history is unique. Is a unique glimpse into the chaotic world of one of the 20th century's most revolutionary artists. It's yeah, the documentary is kind of a haphazardly put together movie. The most unique and most interesting parts of it I find are the actual footage of Thelonious Monk, and then also the footage of like his son talking about him. They interview his son, who I believe is a jazz drummer as well, and as it was a jazz drummer, and kind of talking a little bit about what it was like with him and his mother and his father when they were younger and stuff like that. But it's very brief. I wanted more of that to kind of get into this kind of enigmatic figure in Thelonious Monk, who I knew nothing about. If you know nothing about Thelonious Monk, this documentary kind of doesn't tell you much. It kind of assumes that you're aware of who he is and kind of his impact on the world of jazz musicians and music and stuff like that, but I didn't. It just kind of it doesn't really give you a full portrait of who he is. It kind of just explores this randomness of like kind of random clippings of behind the scenes work that he was doing on like practicing piano and performing and things like that. You don't really get a real sense of what this documentary is trying to do or trying to say. Um, yeah, I just felt don't go into this not knowing anything about Thelonious Monk. You may want to read a Wikipedia or may want to read something about him. Um, because I knew nothing and I kind of didn't know much afterward, other than the fact that he was this enigmatic, great jazz pianist who kind of changed the game a little bit. But you don't really know kind of how he changed the game or how he was different than other people. You just know that he was great. Um, so interesting documentary. Interesting documentary. You get a this is a 4K UHD. No, just a Blu-ray. Just a Blu-ray. So it's a 4K restoration with uncompromised monaural soundtrack. Introduction by director Charlotte Swerin. New interview with musician T.S. Monk, son of Thelonious Monk. New program about Swerin and the making of the film, featuring interviews with writer Michael Schulman, assistant editor Bernadine Kolish, and Zwerin's nieces Lisa and Laura Tassoni. Yeah, that is Thelonious Monk, Straight No Chaser. Then we've got The Wiz, and this set a little bit of a shock through the movie collecting and movie loving world. This movie is wow. So, what we've got here is an adaptation of the Broadway play, which is an adaptation or a kind of a remix, if you will, or redo. Yeah, remix. Yeah, readaptation. I don't know. Or a take on the L. Frank Baum timeless story, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. L. Frank Baum being the original author. So of course we all know the 1939 film. At least many of us do, I assume. So this goes back to the original story that movie is based on, the original book by L. Frank Baum, and it was turned into a musical in 1974, I believe, called The Wiz, and it is about black culture of the time. It's Wizard of Oz through that prism of that, and then they decided to turn that Broadway musical into a theatrical film, into a movie, and they enlisted the help of like Motown Records, and they got Sidney Lumet to direct it. They got Quincy Jones to work on some of the music. I think, oh my goodness, Joel Schumacher I think worked on the screenplay for it. It was produced by Rob Cohen, who went on to direct some of his own films. At the time, I think he was an executive at Universal. This was a Universal Pictures film. It stars Diana Ross. It stars Michael Jackson's in the movie, Richard Pryor, Lena Horne. And it's the movie's wild. I can't describe it. The sets in this movie are crazy, unhinged, wild, gorgeous sets. The music, I like the music a lot. The choreography is good. The singing, of course, is good. You have Diana Ross. I mean, come on. Michael Jackson's in there dancing too as the Scarecrow. You have the usual the Wizard of Oz story that you all know. Dorothy gets whisked off to this magical land of Oz. She's got to go on the yellow brick road to meet to go to the wizard to try to get home. And along the way, she meets Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion. But it's all done through this kind of urban, setting. It feels like It feels like a Broadway musical at times. It feels like sets and things like that. But it's like the costuming is wild. It's just crazy over the top. I'll say this: if you do not like musicals, you're not going to like this movie. If you're not open to liking musicals, you're not going to like this movie. If you're not open about experimental musical films that kind of take chances and do their own thing, you're not going to like this movie. And I understand that, musicals are not for everyone. Um, and I understand that this movie is a bit of a cult film. It was a financial and I think critical flop at the time it came out in, I think 1978, 1978. And it has since grown in popularity and gotten a cult following over time. Many years ago, it was released on Blu-ray by Universal. Let me check when that came out. Um, I had never seen it up until now. Um, so I came to it brand new. Wow, this Blu-ray came out in 2010. Holy heck. I didn't think it was that long ago, but it was 2010, and now it's getting a 4K UHD and a Blu-ray release from Criterion. And to be honest, this is Criterion's bag. This is what they've been doing since their founding back in the 80s, 40 years ago, putting out movies that are, cult, underappreciated films, things like that. There's a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to Criterion, and I never understood why. Because to me, Criterion has always been about putting out kind of everything and anything they've ever wanted to, whether it be cult film, whether it be all-time classics, whether it be musicals, whether it be biopics, dramas, comedies, foreign films. Monster films, Godzilla films, whether it be modern day blockbusters, all kinds of stuff. They've done it all and they continue to do it all. So I don't know why the Wiz would be out of the realm of possibilities, but that's just the way things are with certain people. But this is a fascinating take on the Wizard of Oz story. And it's fascinating to me because it kind of the initial start to the story kind of twists the whole Wizard of Oz thing on its head. You have Dorothy, classic starting off with Dorothy, but in the original movie Wizard of Oz, the one we all know from 1939, her reason for wanting to leave, Kansas or leave wherever she is because she wants more out of life. She wants to explore bigger and better things. She thinks she's kind of sick of the drab farm and the drab, black and white world that she lives in literally on screen. You know what I mean? Because it starts off in black and white. In this movie, Dorothy starts off as the opposite. She doesn't seem to want anything more out of life than what she has. She's a bit of a homebody. She's a bit of somebody who, it doesn't really pursue things in her life and is kind of rather comfortable. And her being whisked off to this world of Oz is a way in which for her to kind of, climb out of that shell and explore something else and find some other things within herself that she is good at in life. And I think that's kind of what a lot of the main story is finding this kind of inner strength and inner, happiness, if you will, and inner characteristics to kind of propel your life forward. I really like this movie. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's amazing. There's certain aspects of it that I think are don't quite work for me. I think some of the movie sequence, some of the musical sequences go on for way too long. They go on, I think, really really long. I think the cinematography and stuff like that isn't really conducive to a musical. It is kind of uh stationary. I think there's a lot of master shots as opposed to like where musicals they've got to be fastly paced and edited and the choreography and everything like that. It's got to move with the music. You got to feel an upbeat with it. Sometimes I don't really see that visually, but granted, it's Sidney Lumet who doesn't really do those types of movies, at least from what I've seen from his filmography. Um, 12 Angry Men takes place entirely in one room, but The Wiz is fascinating to me. Excuse me. Um, And yeah, it's good. I liked it. I'm probably gonna end up getting this eventually. I have to get it because I need it to complete my Sidney Lumet section in my collection. A lot of Sidney Lumet stuff's been coming out lately, which is great. He was, I think, one of the all-time great directors in my opinion. So you've got The Wiz. We've got some more comments here. It says from Acres of Movies, do you like Night Falls on Manhattan? Well, I have Night Falls on Manhattan somewhere over here. Think I've got it. I think I have it over there. I have Night Falls on Manhattan, the Arrow release. Wish I had it here, but I don't know. I used to have it here with some other Arrow releases, but I think I moved it to the Sidney Lumet section, or at least the other section with the other stuff. Oh no, I have it. Hold on. I knew it was here somewhere. Night Falls on Manhattan, right here. The Arrow release, which I bought when Barnes and Noble was having a 50% off sale. Sometime last fall, and they happened to have this in stock because it was a newer release. That's typically how my Barnes and Noble goes. They either have newer releases of Arrow or stuff nobody bought from when it was a new release. So I've got this. I like it, but what's interesting is it's part of that phase of Sidney Lumet where he was doing like police corruption movies. Like he did this and he did The Prince of the City as well, which are both dealing with police corruption. Yeah, so that's Night Falls on Manhattan. Let's see. So what do we have here for the Wiz special features? Did I go over the special features? No, I did not. So you got one 4K UHD disc presented in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. New audio commentary featuring scholars Michael B. Gillespie and Alfred L. Martin. Archival interview with director Sidney Lumet and actor Diana Ross. And that is it. Wow. That's all we're getting? Oh, man. I thought we would be getting so much more. I know Sidney Lumet isn't with us anymore and all and that kind of stuff, but I was kind of hoping for a little more, considering, granted, the Blu-ray from Universal that came out in 2010 didn't have much of anything. It's got they had Whiz on Down the Road, 12-minute and 30-minute featurette is a vintage featurette. That was it. That was all they had on the original Blu-ray, and they didn't even carry that over. Wow. Okay, kind of disappointed, Criterion. If you're gonna put out the Wiz, make a splash. I don't know why you didn't give us some goods, but whatever. But so these two upgrades. We've got Mishima Life in 4 Chapters, the Paul Schrader film. Sorry, I just completely blanked out. Once I hit the 3-hour mark here on Chasing Labels, my mind is completely gone. But this movie I've had on DVD, this movie I've had on Blu-ray, and now it's getting a 4K release, all from Criterion. So Paul Schrader's visually stunning collage-like portrait of the acclaimed Japanese author and playwright Yukio Mishima, played by Ken Ogata, investigates the inner turmoil and contradictions of a man who attempts the impossible task of finding harmony among self, art, and society. Taking place on the last day of Mishima's life, when he famously committed public seppuku, the film is punctuated by extended flashbacks to the writer's past, as well as gloriously stylized evocations of his fictional works. Yeah, this movie is a visual feast. One of the most gorgeous films you'll ever see. And I could imagine what it's going to look like in 4K. As you can imagine, the movie is divided into 4 chapters. Each chapter is a part of Mishima's life. The movie is absolutely incredible. Probably, I would say it's Paul Schrader's best film, or at least my favorite of his, because I think it's so unique and so different compared to a lot of his other stuff, where he kind of went over and over the same type of things over and over again throughout his career. And this one is truly exceptionally different and exceptionally well done. So you got a 4K restoration of the director's cut, supervised and approved by Paul Schrader, one 4K UH disc of the film, and one Blu-ray disc with the film and special features, 2 alternate English narrations, including one by actor Roy Scheider, audio commentary featuring Paul Schrader and actor Alan Pohl, program on the making of the film featuring Bailey. Okay. Producers Tom Luddy and Mata Yamamoto, composer Philip Glass, and production designer Elko Ishioka. Program on Yukio Mishima featuring his biographer John Nathan and friend Donald Ritchie. Audio interview with screenwriter Chico Schrader. Interview excerpt from 1966 featuring Mishima talking about writing. The Strange Case of Yukio Mishima, a 1985 documentary about the author. I think all of these have been on um, the DVD and Blu-ray of the past. So I don't think any of these are new. That is Mishima, A Life in Four Chapters by Paul Schrader. And then, of course, we've got what I consider to be Terry Gilliam's best film and my favorite of his, and that is Brazil. Um, in this dystopian masterpiece, Brazil, starring Jonathan Pryce, plays a daydreaming everyman who finds himself caught in the soul-crushing gears of a nightmarish bureaucracy. This cautionary tale by Terry Gilliam, one of the great films of the 1980s, has come to be esteemed alongside anti-totalitarian works by the likes of George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and Kurt Vonnegut. In terms of set design, cinematography, music, and effects, Brazil is a non-stop dazzler. That is very true. If there's one thing about a Terry Gilliam film, it's going to be visually dazzling and visually unique and interesting, thought-provoking, all of those things. And this is a very much a George Orwell type of movie where it's very anti-totalitarianism, very interesting when you look at what's going on in our modern times in terms of uh, what's going on politically and things like that. This movie kind of has aged very well. This movie is from 1985, I believe. And and this was one of the first. I had this on DVD. One of the first Criterions I ever bought on DVD. I've had the Blu-ray. I've had the Blu-ray in my collection for years, and now it's coming out in 4K. It's like I said, it's Terry Gilliam's I think best film in my opinion. It's certainly my favorite. I don't think any of these special features here are different, but we do get one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision. I can only imagine how good this is going to look. Two Blu-rays with the film and special features. Audio commentary by Terry Gilliam. What is Brazil? Rob Hedden on set documentary. The production notebook, a collection of um, the collection of interviews and video essays featuring a trove of Brasiliana from Gilliam's personal collection, The Battle of Brazil, a documentary about the film's contentious release, hosted by Jack Matthews and based on the book of the same name. Love Conquers All version, the studio's 94-minute happy ending cut of Brazil, with commentary by Brazil expert David Morgan. There was, the film was, it was difficult to have it made. Let me put it this way: that happy ending movie version of the movie runs, what they say, 94 minutes long. The actual running time of the movie is 143 minutes. So they wanted to cut down the movie to 94 minutes. to 94 minutes. As opposed to 143 minutes. You know how much of the movie they're cutting out? So much. They're cutting out like 40 minutes of the movie. It's wild. But like I said, Brazil, I think this is an all-time classic, must-own Criterion release. Whether it's the DVD, the Blu-ray, or now the 4K, I think it's a must-own. Like if there's a Blu-ray, like I said in the past, if there's a Criterion starter pack, which there kind of is now, with their whole Criterion 40th anniversary edition. This is definitely one of them. Let's see what we've got here for some comments before we leave. Let's see. Acres of Movies asks, should Tom Brady star in another version of Against All Odds? Do you like that one? Let me see. That's an interesting. I don't know if he's. Thing is, I don't know if he's much of an actor. I've not seen Against All Odds. That's the Taylor Hackford film from. That's a Taylor Hackford film from 1984, starring Jeff Bridges. Is that what you're referring to? If it is, I don't think Tom Brady could pull that off. He's not. He's not really doing acting. I mean, he's in that one scene in Ted 2. I think was he in 80 for Brady? I think he was in there at the end. He's probably good doing like one or two scenes here and there, but to carry a whole movie, I don't think he's got that in him yet. I mean, there are athletes who have become actors, who've been able to do it. Yeah, I just talked. Jim Brown was able to do it. Um, but I don't think there's been a lot of athletes turned actor that have been successful. I mean, a lot of them have done it. You had Brian Bosworth tried to do it. Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. We have another Steve Mayer says fantastic stream manager. See you next time, brother. See you next time, Steve. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the support. Acres of Movie says I agree with the above comment. You are the best. Oh, I thank you. I'll take that. And then Acres of Movies. Who would you cast as Paul Newman? Will there be a biopic or moment in time biopic, such as him directing Joanne Woodward to great acclaim? To great acclaim for the effect of gamma rays on the effect of gamma rays and Rachel, or maybe his later years in businesses. Have you seen the effects of gamma rays on the moon? On the moon-eyed marigolds? I recommend that highly. I have it. I believe I've seen it. Hold on. Um, Hold on. I completely forgot what we were talking about. Yeah, I have the movie because I've got to get everything. I've got to get everything Paul Newman based. So I have seen the effect of gamma rays on Man in the Moon marigolds. Um, yeah, I've seen it. Came out 1972, directed by Paul Newman, starring Joanne Woodward. It was trying to kind of revive her career, at the time, if you will. He only directed a few movies. Sometimes a Great Notion, Rachel, and the best. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, he directed Rachel, the effects of gamma rays on Man in the Moon marigolds. Sometimes a Great Notion, which is really underrated. There was a Blu-ray of that put out by Shout Factory a few years ago. I have it. He also directed The Glass Menagerie. He also directed Harry and Son, which I also have. There's an Olive Films Blu-ray of that film, which you can still find, and it's still relatively cheap. If you can find that, definitely pick it up. And then he also directed, I think The Shadow Box was a TV thing. But The Glass Menagerie is not available on disc. I don't think anywhere. I don't even think it's available on DVD. I believe it was a TV adaptation of The Glass Menagerie from 1987. But who would you cast as Paul Newman? Oh man. Oh man. Years ago, and we're going back. Matthew McConaughey is pretty close because you got to get someone who has the looks and the charm and the acting ability. Paul Newman. As I don't know if this is a hot take. Matthew McConaughey has kind of been on modern day Paul Newman, if you will. And I think he's kind of leaned into that a lot. In terms of, his beauty on screen and his acting ability and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know for a biopic. I don't know for a biopic. Let's see. Oh, I didn't know that. So Acres of Movie says, check out Against All Odds. It's a remake of Out of the Past. That's all you have to tell me. That's all you have to tell me. Acres of Movie says both versions are awesome. Some great romance noirs. James Woods is excellent in that. Let's see. Acres of Movie says, I think she did great in that one. The long title one, Woodward, incredible actress. I also think the Paul Newman WUSA was an interesting concept, at least. I have WUSA and I haven't seen it yet. I've had that Blu-ray for years and I need to see it. I love to see these actor biopics. I love your McConaughey suggestion. Yeah, I agree with that, what you said. Thank you. Paul Newman might have been number one or at least in the top 15. To me, he's my favorite of all time. I don't know if Acres of Movies, if you knew that, but Paul Newman is my favorite actor of all time. And still trying, because it's ever in the process of owning all of his movies. And I want to say over 20 of them. Yeah, well over 20 of them. And I've been trying to, like I said, also get all the stuff he directed as well. So I need to get on that. I need to close, get more of his stuff just so I can eventually, get everything. The Glass Menagerie is going to be, like I said, impossible to get because it's not available. It's not around. Hopefully somebody puts that out. I feel like, with Kino putting out a lot of TV movies and a lot of TV stuff, because I believe the Glass Menagerie is is um is a TV movie. Let me see, Glass Menagerie. It's always a play I've been wanting to read as well. It's a Tennessee Williams play. I don't know. It doesn't say if it was a TV movie or not. I don't know if it is. Maybe it's not. Hold on. Let me go. I'm gonna go check. Um, it's a good cast. John Malkovich is in that. This must be a young John Malkovich. Now that I think about it. Oh, The Shadow Box. That was a TV movie. Okay, The Shadow Box. That was a TV movie. The Glass Menagerie was not a TV thing. My fault. But either way, The Glass Menagerie is not available. Acres of Movies says, yay, me too. Wow, that's so cool to me too. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so Acres of Movie asks, I want the verdict best version possible. Is it on Blu-ray? Yeah, there is a Blu-ray version of the verdict. We just talked about Sidney Lumet. There is a version of the verdict that you can buy. It is currently, let's make sure it's actually in print. It is in print, and you can find it for $9. You can find it. Wow, for the okay. You actually it is out of print now, but I lied. It's not still in print, but you can probably still find it floating around out there. Um, you just have to buy it on the third party, because it was a 20th Century Fox release, and I'm pretty sure all of the 20th Century Fox Blu-rays are now out of print because of the Disney takeover and all that kind of stuff. But there is, I want to see, I thought there was another re-release of this. Hold on, maybe not. No, so there is a Verdict Blu-ray. It's just out of print, and, I don't think it's going to be tough to find though. Let's see. Acres of Movies also says, does it have a good transfer? Do you feel like you are in the court, etc.? I love that movie. It's the best. I love the hair of the judge, Miles O'Shea in the verdict. Um, I'll say the Blu-ray looks very good. It is. Let's see. The Blu-ray came out in 2013. Yeah, I think it's sourced from an older master, but it's gonna look better than whatever was on DVD. Definitely. I'm curious. I'm fascinated. This could get a a boutique release. Like this is a movie that deserves a boutique release. I just don't know who would put it out. I don't know who has access to it. Let me see if there's any rumblings here. Now I'm just going off on tangents. This would be a nice release. But who knows with 20th Century Fox's back catalog? Who knows? Who knows? Let's see. Acres of Movie says McConaughey, maybe Lewis Pullman if he can get some bigger roles soon. He can be a young Paul. Um, I mean, Glenn Powell is kind of a young McConaughey now. If you're looking at some kind of a young up and coming actor who could possibly do it, Glenn Powell is kind of a young McConaughey. If you're looking for somebody in that Paul Newman range, or like visual, visual beauty as well as acting ability. But I think he needs more. I got to see more from him that he can pull off something like that. So far, he's got the screen presence, you know, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so this is a bit of a tongue twister here. Acres of Movies asks, What movie that has been made or wasn't made or that you think could have been made you think Lumet could or should have directed? So a movie that basically Lumet didn't get to direct that he could have directed had he been around. I wish he was still around, to be quite honest. Um, trying to think. Trying to think of a more modern film that would have been interesting in a Lumet um in a Lumet frame. Because what's interesting is that by the time he passed away in the late 2000s, movies were starting to get rather interesting. Um, like his last film, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. If he was gonna make more movies like that, like if that was where that was where his palette was, or the palette or the tone of his movies were trajectorying were going towards, man, he could have done so much after that that would have been even better. Um, Sidney Lumet doing like a No Country for Old Men would be interesting. Because that feels like a Sidney Lumet type of movie. Um, yeah, because yeah, that's that type of dark trajectory. I feel like Sidney Lumet could have pulled that off. Um, I don't know what he would have done modern time wise. Obviously nothing like he wouldn't be doing like a big blockbuster or anything like that. That was never Sidney Lumet's bag. Um, um, yeah, I'm just looking around. Like even yeah, that was kind of yeah. I don't know why No Country for Old Men is kind of ringing in my head. I don't know why. Granted, he was alive, I think, when that came out. So I don't know. Interesting. Anywho, yeah. So let me. So I love Acres Movie says I love doing a discussion video with you discussing each Paul Newman or each one, and we'd seen so cool that is your number one as well. Oh, but Paul Newman being Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget, that would have been wild. That would have been wild. Um, but yeah, so let's see. I think that's it for whatever we have here cooking on Chasing Labels. We just finished up Criterion just to quickly go over, and then we'll do the outro here. Sorcerer, which is definitely number one on my list for all this. Sorcerer, 32 short films about Glenn Gould, Midnight, Thelonious Monk, Straight No Chaser, The Wiz, City Lumet film. Then we've got the upgrades of Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters, and then we've got Terry Gilliam's Brazil getting a 4K UHD release upgrade as well. So that is it for Chasing Labels episode / spine number 160. Thank you all here for joining me. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for commenting in the future. Thank you all for listening on the audio. You can find the audio for this and all of the previous 159 episodes on pretty much everywhere podcasts can be found in the audio realm. Um, when it Apple Podcasts and Google, Spotify, places like that. Um, and you can of course find the live stream here for Chasing Labels, and of course other videos here as well. We will be doing an unwatched pile on the 25th of March. We will have our good friend and one of my favorite people ever in Celeste Lacabra. She will be here joining us here once again to do an unwatched pile. Not quite sure if we have a theme lined up for it or if we're just doing anything off of our unwatched pile, but we will see. We will see. But join us here for the live stream for that on March 25th at, I believe, 9 o'clock. That will be the time currently set up. If things change, um, I'll let you know. But thank you all here once again. And hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.